We should be live on the main canvas here in just a second. Since we're live on the main canvas, I'll get the other one going. Okay, we'll get Social Stream Ninja up and rolling. All right, main canvas is live. Let me get the vertical canvas going. Vertical canvas should be live any second.
Good.
It says upcoming, but I forget, it's like a 15-second delay almost.
Yep.
Okay. Social Stream Ninja is now active to collect our chats.
Do you guys have time to go a little bit later today? Oh, Justin, you said you did have time. Ian, do you have time? Because we are, in principle, we're like starting like an hour late.
Yeah.
So, you know, we don't have to go an hour later, but at least, you know, we can give the people what they need.
So it appears that we're live on the vertical and the horizontal canvas now. Good. So we should be ready to hit go on TikTok. Then we'll log in on TikTok and we should be ready to rock.
Do you have both streams passing through to the Social Stream Ninja?
Yeah, I got both streams set up, so we should be good to go there. In fact, we'll test it here in a second. I'll grab a chat from each stream, and we'll hold on.
Yeah, actually, for everybody who's watching, it turns out we're not late. We're not restarting the live or anything. You guys are just missed daylight savings time.
True. People have been saying
this is actually on time.
Okay, so we just need Ian to join up on TikTok. We should be good.
There's a schism in every timeline.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of schism, people are saying, Dr. Blitz, that there's a schism in Blitz's live now.
Oh, there's always been a schism. The whores and the verts.
Sure. Well, hey, I think everything's good to go. If you're watching right now and you're like, hey, something's not working, like I can't hear everybody, just throw it in the chat. We'll kind of debug it there in real time. But as far as I can tell, I think everything's ready to rock and roll. So
I think so too.
Let me grab our first guest. It looks like it's going to be Paula, and we'll get everything going here. Welcome in, Paula.
Hello.
Can you hear?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Awesome.
I'm not sure who's talking there though. Oh, there's three of you.
Yep,
there's three of us.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Paula, are you at least 18, and do you believe in God?
I'm 63 today.
So happy birthday!
Whoa.
I don't celebrate. I celebrate every day like it's a birthday. But
sure.
I don't believe in God. I know God exists.
Oh, this is interesting then. So
that just sounds like the same thing, but with extra steps.
Yeah. Which God is it that you know exists?
Okay. Well, I'm slightly confused because there seems to be a trend on TikTok where people are stating something as fact and then asking people to disprove it.
Yeah, it's called a challenge.
We have a very long,
right? So
yeah, we have a very long tradition.
A lot of these prompts are challenges, and I think Dr. Blitz, Ian, and myself are happy to take on the burden of the claim on the board. But we do, everyone that comes in, we're going to have the same entry into the discussion. We're going to ask them if they have evidence or an argument or some sort of reason to believe that their God is real. Do you have any of that?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, dope. Let's hear it.
But I feel like I need to, as somebody who's getting quite old and seeing people trying to reinvent stuff all the time, people are flipping something that's been a long-held norm, and that is whoever makes a claim has the burden of proof.
Yeah,
And what we have are people
I already
making
said that
claims and
we're more than
statements.
happy to
Yeah.
take on the burden if it turns out that you are like
Okay.
incapable of having a burden on yourself.
Well, I would like to know
And
what searches you've done to make the claim God isn't real.
so look, Paula, before we can even have this discussion, there's a lot of different gods that none of us believe in. But there is one God that you believe in. So in order to have a productive conversation, it's just important to know which that God that you believe in is, and then we can tell you the reasons why we don't think it's real. But if you believe in like the garden snake God that laid an egg that gave birth to the universe, our arguments against Zoroastrianism will not be successful. So you got to just give us something that we can work with, and then we can tell you reasons.
Well, the God that I know exists has no name.
Okay.
Does it have any properties, maybe?
Sorry?
Does he have like attributes?
Okay, so God is also not a he.
Okay, does it have
you've
properties of
given,
any kind?
Well, you've given God an attribute of being male.
Okay.
Which suggests that somewhere along the line...
Standard English, forgive us.
Well,
what attributes does this being have?
Sorry. You've given God an attribute of being male.
That's just the way that God is referred to typically.
At least
there's this long-held tradition of referring to God as a he, and now the woke liberals nowadays are trying to change that.
Well, that would be wrong. Why
I think this is like an instantiation of cancel culture.
Why would a supreme being?
Paula, it seems like you're really struggling because you just really want to fight on the semantics. We just want to know the features of the thing that you think is real, and then we can talk about it.
Semantics are very important.
Can you just tell us the features of the thing that you think is real? Like, can you just do the thing and then we can have a conversation rather than doing gotchas?
Yes. So my evidence would be you.
I don't know. I'm not asking for evidence. I just want the features of the thing. What is the thing like that you're suggesting is real? What properties does
existence.
It have? It has the properties of existence. Okay, so
is this
water bottle God? Is this water bottle God?
How do you exist?
Is this water bottle God? Because this water bottle has the property of existence. And you just said the property that the God that you believe in has the property of existence. So surely existence is not a sufficient property in order to be this God of yours.
Paula, would you mind characterizing your God, Paula? Could you do that?
And the water bottle is... Sorry?
Would you mind characterizing your God for us?
Just describe it. That would be very helpful so we know what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but God is not an it. You keep giving it. You keep
giving God a feature. You keep giving what?
No. You keep giving God.
You just did.
Features.
Oh no, you slipped.
No,
you said
don't interrupt me. If your way of debating is to interrupt when there's three of you, one person, then you're not very convinced about your arguments.
This might be the most whiny guest I've heard in a long time. All we're trying to do is to get you to describe your God. Whatever features your God has, that's what we're looking for. So either you're prepared to do that or you're not.
Justin, do you happen to have like a length of rope, perhaps long enough to hang?
What do you mean by feature?
I could really use one right now.
Go ahead, use it.
All right, so I'm going to ask you a yes or no question, and I need you to say yes or no, or we can't move forward, okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. Does your God have any properties or characteristics that you're capable of communicating with us?
Intelligence.
There we go. Now I got something wrong. Okay, so your God has intelligence. Anything else?
Intelligence. I'll stick with
Is
that
that it?
one.
That's the only thing you know about your God?
I mean,
It exists and it's intelligent.
I have intelligence. Does that make me your god?
Okay, yeah.
Well, why do you? Well, if you want to get biblical, Christians believe that God made man in
But
God's
you're not
own
a Christian,
image.
right?
There we
not a Christian,
go.
so it's kind of irrelevant.
If this
I'm
guy's a
not a
Christian, I'm gonna
Christian.
crash out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So why are you bringing up the Bible if you're not a Christian?
Why are you bringing up God's mail when you don't believe in a God?
It's just the way
You know enough about God. Hang on, you know enough about God.
It's standard English.
Hang on,
okay.
no, you're interrupting again. You're doing it again.
So we're interrupting you because you're going on an unnecessary tangent, and at this point, I'm not sure. Like, as fun as these conversations can be for me, I'm not sure the audience is really into this. So, Paula, like, we're just gonna cut you, okay? Like, you already got buried trying to pettifog the conversation, and you're never gonna get unburied. So, that's what's happening. Oh well.
He was trying really hard to. Oh, sorry, Paula was trying really hard to avoid describing Paula's belief in a deity.
Yeah.
Sorry, Paula's knowledge that a deity exists. Paula refused to use pronouns to describe this deity, and Paula really didn't want to give any properties to this deity except that this deity has intelligence and this deity exists.
Except for the one time where Paula
Except for the one time.
slipped up and characterized Paula as God, as in it.
I could be wrong, but I think this God he's referring to is probably some variant of the Christian
Sorry, this God who's referring to?
the God that Paul is referring to. All right,
Imagine going through life not using a particular type of noun. Like, what a world to live in.
We do what we can do. All right, let me grab. We got 2 super chats. We'll get our next guest in here. It looks like Emily was up next. If you're watching on YouTube, you can join without TikTok by using the link on the screen, tiny.cc/UA guest. We'd love to hear about your God. And Marilyn in the house, good to see you. Says Justin is definitely God. Well, that you may think that, but considering I don't believe in God, I can't agree with that. But thanks for being here, friend. Hope you're doing well. And Miko, great to see you as well. Says John Cohen's channel. I do love John Cohen, by the way, for a Justin-style Brit. Yeah, I would say so. In fact, we do have the same, like some physical features too. We both got tall foreheads. That's like a huge sign right there.
He sounds Jewish, though.
Oh, wait, hold on. John Cohen?
He's got to be Jewish. With a name like John Cohen? It's like the most Jewish name you can have.
Yeah, you're right. That's like super. Yeah. I don't know. I'll ask.
That's like mega Jewish.
I'll definitely ask him. I even heard the blood on the sheet argument. Look him up and help him out. Miko, I already know John Cohen. In fact, we're already planning to do a stream together. But yeah, if you like cool. My channel, you'll like John Cohen's channel. He's pretty dope. He did, in fact, have a Darth Dawkins crash out recently. So.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Oh, is that was it the one that was on Tom Rabbit's channel?
No, it was not. Oh no, did Tom Rabbit repost it? Oh, maybe he did. I don't know.
Was he like the nice British guy?
Yep.
I think I do know. I did watch that. I'm like more obsessed with Darth Dawkins than Tom Rabbit is.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Bro regularly just scours the internet for any Darth Dawkins content.
All right, last super chat. No, I mean, crash outs are fun to watch. Base to Share says, I adore you 3, but can we cut down on the suicide jokes? We never know the mental health of the caller. I mean, I agree. I'm not, and it's not usually a good look, but yeah, for sure. We're with you, Base to Share, for sure. Maybe sometime in the future we'll slip, but I think we're trying to be aware of those types of things for sure. That's why I've already been disavowed like 10 times. Mm-hmm. So
it's true.
All right, let's get Emily in here. How you doing, Emily?
You can call me what's the deal?
Hey. What sort of God do you believe in, and how old are you?
I'm 20. God. I'm a Christian.
Okay.
What makes you think God exists?
I'll just see like creation, but I really want to know why God doesn't exist. I've been watching you. I want to know like why he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in the Bible, it says that God commands the slaughter of men, of women, of children, and of infants, but it also says that God is just. So, in order
Yeah.
to remain consistent, you would need to say that these infants deserve to get slaughtered. Would you make that
Wait,
statement?
wait. I think you're committing a fallacy.
I asked you a yes or
So,
no
Which
question.
I'm curious what
why would
fallacy
I
this is.
answer? Why would I answer a loaded question? There's an objectionable premise.
Sure, what's the objectionable premise?
Yeah, you're presupposing that death is a consequence.
Well, just that it's a punishment, that when God said,
No,
go
death
now and
isn't a
slaughter
punishment.
these infants, that what he was giving is a punishment. And that's what God tells you himself in the verse. He says, I will
What?
punish them for what they did when we came up out of Egypt.
Well, are you referring to? Are you referring to First Samuel?
I am.
Okay. Number
Did the
one.
infants deserve that?
Oh my gosh, can I finish? Number one, the infants. I hold to the belief that all people who don't have recognition of God's law, they're elect, so they go into heaven. So God, let's say ending the infants wasn't a punishment because we see in Isaiah God says not all death is punishment, right? So God taking them to infinite glory and infinite happiness is nothing wrong with that. God is the giver and he's the taker of life.
Well, except
Okay,
it
so there's
says in the
nothing
verse
wrong.
that it's a punishment. It says in 1 Samuel 15:2 explicitly that it's a punishment. It says, this is what the Lord Almighty says. I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them as they came up from Egypt.
Yeah, it was that he was punishing the nation, but just because he was punishing the nation doesn't mean that he punished all people in the nation. You're not going to find that nowhere in the verse.
He literally says, go punish them, go deliver this punishment to them, and then he specifies the punishment. I'll read the full thing. Thus says the Lord of
I know
hosts, I
the
will punish
okay.
the Amalekites for what they did in opposing the Israelites when they came up out of Egypt. Now go and attack Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have. Do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, child and infant, ox and sheep, camel and donkey. It certainly sounds like a punishment.
Okay, okay, can you tell me the method of hermeneutic you used?
What
No,
what do you
you
think
can't.
hermeneutic
Okay.
means?
I'm
Hermeneutic
not
is
going to be
just a
able to answer
method of
that question. Maybe Justin would be able to.
hermeneutic is just a method of interpretation, okay? We can use a
Mhm.
historical grammatical method, okay? So when we actually look at this, right, we
Historical
could see
grammatical?
yeah,
That's not a
search it up.
hermeneutic, my man.
Yes it is.
Not.
Yes it is.
It's not.
Oh, well, if that's a
It
hermeneutic,
literally
then
is.
I just read it is my hermeneutic.
That can't be a hermeneutic.
Why not?
Why not? Because it's not verified or established by anybody.
Is yours?
Yeah.
By who?
Not.
You want specific names?
Yes.
I'll have to go get it. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Well, mine's established too. I just don't know any specific names.
Okay, well, I don't really care. But the entire point is that if God is a taker and giver of life, what's wrong with him taking a life or giving it? Is there something morally wrong with it?
Well, I'm
Well,
saying that it's not deserved is my critique.
Wait,
exactly.
by what stand? Wait, who determines if it's deserved or not?
I'm asking you, do you think it's deserved? Do you think that these infants deserved to get slaughtered?
Do they deserve to get slaughtered?
Yeah.
I would want them to go to heaven, of course. The Bible teaches all
Well, I'm
infants go to
asking you,
heaven.
do you think that they deserve to get slaughtered?
Do they deserve to get slaughtered?
Yeah.
I don't understand the extent of your question.
I'm just asking you, do you think that what these like newborn infants are deserving of is slaughter?
It's by slaughter if you just mean death. All flesh is
No.
deserving of death.
He didn't say death, he said slaughter.
Yeah.
Okay, what is slaughter?
I don't know, getting like hacked to bits with a sword,
Yeah.
for example.
Okay, so death.
No, so slaughter. So for
It's like a
my
example,
specific
bro.
kind of death.
I've had lots of relatives and friends experience death, but none of them got slaughtered because they're not the same thing.
Okay, so you're just asking me, did they deserve to die a certain way?
Not
Yeah.
really. Specifically to be
That's bro, or
slaughtered,
what?
to be slaughtered brutally.
Is that not dying a certain way?
I mean, it is one mode of dying.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
Yeah,
dying a certain.
sorry.
So
A
my
bit of
question.
confusion. That is what we're asking. We're asking, did they deserve to die by getting hacked to bits? Is that what they deserved?
I'm gonna play along to your semantics. So, did they
Semantics. Using the word slaughter to differentiate between multiple modes of killing is now semantics. That's crazy.
Hold on. I just said I'll adopt your semantics. So, all flesh is deserving of death, but the babies who were slaughtered went to heaven and got infinite happiness and glory. God took away
So
their
then just say
tempers.
it. Just say yes. They deserved. These innocent beings deserved to get
All
slaughtered. And
wait. So, all humans deserve to die.
do you?
Yeah,
Do you deserve to be hacked to bits?
I deserve to be punished the worst way imaginable.
Anybody thinking about converting to Christianity, by the way, what you're committed to, according to this guy, is that, if you're gonna need to say that you deserve to get hacked to bits with a sword, according to this
No, you
guy.
deserve
If you're
worse.
considering Christianity, but you don't think that you deserve to get hacked to bits with a sword, you can look elsewhere.
Yeah, you deserve worse than that. You deserve the full unleashing of God's wrath, but God has mercy, and God had mercy on those infants.
Look, this is a little puzzling to me. So generally, when we say that something is deserved, then typically this means something like the punishment or the outcome is in accordance with the transgression, right? So what is the transgression that the infants committed?
The transgression, yeah, their blood and heart opposes God.
Oh,
But wait,
so
hold
you're
on.
telling
But
me
you're
that
wait, number
the
one. Wait, hold on. Number one, you're presupposing that the infants are going to heaven when the Bible clearly teaches all.
We didn't say that.
well, you
So-
said that all humans deserve to die, so
well,
I take
this
it to
is-
be that applies to the infants for the same reason.
Yeah, but
Also-
that is just a separation from soul and body. That's all it is.
So also, I do want to clarify this. When we talk about strictly justice, justice has basically nothing to do with the consequences. If the punishment results in like some kind of cool effect, that's great, but it's not justice, right?
That wasn't a
if you can
punishment.
evaluate justice purely based on the consequences, then that would imply that you could justly punish innocent people for crimes they didn't commit if it has like good enough consequences. So
Oh,
typically justice is not a factor, or it's not like it's not a function of consequences. It's a function of deserts. What do these people deserve? And surely what they deserve is not to get hacked to bits with swords.
Wait. Nobody. No human deserves any type of happiness. God has mercy on them
Wait.
and allowed
Are you
the
saying
infants to go to heaven.
human beings shouldn't have inalienable rights like happiness?
I'm saying they don't deserve happiness, but it's by God's mercy He has
Why?
allowed it to.
Figure.
Connect those dots.
Yeah, because we transgress against the law. Our heart literally
Babies?
opposes God.
Babies transgress the law?
Do babies transgress the law?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They don't break the covenantal law, but their heart opposes God.
So,
Yeah.
babies were born with a heart that opposes God. It sounds like what you're telling us?
Yeah, they were born
man.
into sinful flesh, absolutely.
And whose fault is that?
Adam's.
So not the babies.
So the babies didn't do anything. They didn't do anything willfully of their own volition that did anything wrong.
Did the babies do anything wrong, like simpliciter? No,
Yeah.
but we're not sinners because we sin. We're sinners because of our nature.
Well, no, I mean, like generally, when we talk about what someone deserves, we talk about what I shouldn't use the word consequences, but what action matches I'm going to say consequent action, not consequence in like the typically understood way. What consequent action matches the transgression committed by the person that is getting the consequent action, right?
Oh yeah.
And so, if you agree that the infants never actually had any transgressive actions, then it seems like they would not be deserving of anything.
Wait, who said that?
What transgressive action did the infants commit?
Wait, sorry. And to be clear, you think infants are morally responsible?
No, that's why they go to heaven.
So okay, so if they're not morally responsible, then they don't deserve punishment.
How is that punishment? Wait, hold on. Answer me this.
Punishment.
Wait, hold on. How does God, right, taking away the life of an infant and taking them up to an infinite amount of glory and happiness, how is that punishment?
God says it's a punishment.
God is punishing the nation. Wait, does punishing the nation necessarily mean punishing everybody in the nation? I want a yes or no to this.
This is.
I want a yes or no.
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh, yes? Okay.
In this instance, yes. Well, given like this Hebrew word, my understanding of it is yes.
Okay, perfect. Show me anywhere in Samuel.
In Exodus 17 that he's going to punish the nation by eliminating all of them, which means even people that were involved in the initial transgression are going to get murdered.
Wait, what? This is an entirely different thing.
No, it's
that Exodus isn't related to Samuel.
I know you haven't read the book. It is related. So Exodus 17 is when the Amalekites go to war.
These are different
Israel.
Timelines. What are you talking about?
They're not.
Yes, they are.
They're not.
Justin, what you're not understanding is that Samuel went back in time, changed the timeline, and branched it off, and then Exodus happened, like in the Marvel movies.
Samuel with the Infinity Gauntlet. Reality can be whatever I want it to be.
He snapped, and all of the Amalekites disappeared.
You know, bro. You know, Lilo, it's this simple.
So Emily, I'll draw the line for you. I'm certain you've not read this book. In Exodus 17, after the first war with the Amalekites, it says, the Lord spoke to Moses, write this in a book of remembrance and recite it in the hearing of Joshua. I will utterly blot out the memory of Amalek from under the heaven. So that's a promise he made after the first Amalekite incursion, which is why when we get to 1 Samuel, hold on.
By the way, that's like the most badass way to say that you're going to destroy an entire ethnicity, right? Like, as far as genocides go, it's pretty badass. As far as like the declaration goes,
I disavow.
Wait,
Thanos would have said that, right?
So then
are the Amalekites just people who are living?
Hold on, Emily. Just hold on. So then
call me
Your name's Emily. So in 1 Samuel 15. God says, now go and attack Amalek and utterly destroy. I'm not sexist. I'm using the name you put
Yes, you are. I told you call me M. But you want to insist on calling me Emily.
That's
like sexism. If a black person told you, call him.
No, we're not going to do any racist arguments right now.
Wait, do you want are you in favor of preferred pronouns?
Oh, sorry. I muted him right when you asked that question.
He, him. He, him.
So
yeah, but would you use somebody's preferred pronouns if they asked you to?
I would call them by their name.
Would you call them by a nickname if they asked you to? A different name, perhaps?
Yeah.
Okay. We can call you M. That's fine.
So the passage that Ian brought up says, go and attack Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have. Do not spare them, but kill both man, women, and children. Now, this is preceded by the excuse. It says, thus says the Lord of hosts, I will punish the Amalekites for what they did in opposing the Israelites when they came up out of Egypt. So 1 Samuel 15 is saying, I'm destroying this nation for this thing that happened in Exodus 17. They're directly connected.
You know what, look, for a second, I'll grant you all that. You know,
it's just true.
Let's say even everything was destroyed. Animals, let's say, even though it wasn't, even though we could see the Amalekites living in the next couple of verses. You know, let's say everything was destroyed, okay? Even if I granted you that. Does that make God evil?
I didn't say God was evil.
You're between a rock and a hard place. You either need to say that there's like a contradiction or
a contradiction with
deserved
what?
It. The contradiction would be that the punishment he gave is just, but also that it's unjust, or you can just bite the bullet and say, I'm asking you, do you think that they deserved it?
Yeah, let's just say
So
yeah,
you think
it did.
innocent people can be deserving of punishments?
Yeah, if God seems it to be fit, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I take that as like an absurd standard of justice that you think it's
You
anything
don't
other
have
than an
morals.
injustice. Whoa, what's the argument for that?
You don't ground your morals in anything.
What's the argument for that?
Yeah, if you hold to subjective morals, so your morals aren't true.
No, I don't.
Oh, you hold to. Let me hear this. Let me guess. You're gonna. What's the typical argument? Agency, goals. Let's run down it, Ian. Come on.
Sure.
So what's your argument against atheists being able to hold objective morals?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Oh,
Okay,
why not?
what's the argument?
Yeah,
Well,
how would you
it would depend.
systematically refute every single model of objective morality?
Wait, obviously I'm not gonna be able to do that within one span. So tell me how you're obtaining more. And I'm guessing you're gonna say agency and goals. That
Okay, so
yeah.
you grant that you were just confused when you said that you don't have morals, right?
No, when it comes, I think I know the type. Since Ian is saying objective morals, I think he's using what's that dude's name? Starts with a G or something.
Go worth.
Gray. Yeah, that dude. I'm guessing you're gonna run down him.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, if I'm an agent, that means that I take actions to achieve goals. If I do that, insofar as I'm doing that, that means that I need my freedom and well-being in order to achieve any of that. If something's
Okay.
necessary to achieve my goal, I have a reason to have it. That is to say that I ought have it. If I ought have it, you ought not interfere with it, which means that I'm claiming a right to it on the basis of my agency. Thus, just in virtue of me being an agent, that means all agents have this right. So all agents have a right to freedom and well-being. Which
Okay,
premise do you
perfect.
reject there?
Wait, I need to know how you're defining these things. So, how are you defining freedom and well-being?
Freedom is just going to be the capacity to make decisions uncoerced, and then well-being is just going to be the various capacities that will be required in order to
Okay.
achieve a range of
And
goals as much
how?
as possible
Okay.
without contradicting other people's
Wait.
freedom and
Well-being is
well-being.
what? Wait, well-being. Repeat well-being
Well-being is
again.
the various capacities that's required to achieve goals without contradicting other people's freedom and well-being.
Okay, and how are you defining a right?
A right is just an outward-facing ought claim.
Okay, how are you defining ought?
Ought just means that you have a reason to do this.
So ought just means I have a okay. So just having a reason to do something is is okay.
So what's the critique?
No, I'm asking. Like, is having a reason to do something okay? Like, it doesn't make it okay.
I don't even know what that question is asking.
You said a ought is just a reason to
It's
do
what
something.
that's what a moral is. A moral is a reason to do something.
Okay, so for, you're just saying a ought is just a reason to do something. Okay, perfect. So you would agree reasons, right, are just true facts about something, about a subject?
Absolutely not. No. A reason is a consideration that counts in favor of an action.
Wait, so a reason could be false?
Yeah, you could be mistaken about your reasons, yes.
No, what I'm saying. Okay, so a reason can be false. Okay, perfect. So, okay. So can you tell me why, just because you need something, you ought to have it? You have a right
Yeah,
to it?
insofar as you make something your end, all we define an end as is something that you act for the sake of. So, in virtue of acting for the sake of something, if you're doing so rationally, then you're doing it for a reason. Thus, in virtue of acting towards any end, you've already presupposed that there's a reason that's worth acting towards.
Okay, I want to walk you down this. Okay, perfect. So
Wait,
you're
so do you
saying
grant the argument?
No.
Sure. Which premise do you reject?
I'm about to show you your absurdity with the argument. I'm just first establishing your definition. So, an ought is just a reason to do something. You said reasons can be false. You said you're an agent, so you deserve the right to freedom and well-being. Okay. So I have a question then. So, what's wrong with mutilating a dead
Wait.
body?
I'm so sorry. Wait, which premise are you rejecting?
Repeat your premises.
Sure. Premise one, I'm an agent. Premise two, if I'm an agent, then I take actions in order to achieve goals. Premise three, if something is necessary to achieve my goals, then I have a reason to have it. Premise four, if I have a reason to have it, then I ought have it. Premise five, my freedom and well-being is necessary to achieve any goals. If premise six, if I ought have something, others ought not interfere with it. And premise seven, if others ought not interfere with that thing, then I have a right to it. Therefore, on the basis of my agency, I have a right to freedom and well-being. Thus, if I have a right to freedom and well-being on the basis of my agency, then all agents have a right to freedom and well-being in the same way. So which premise there would you disagree with?
What's the argument that just because you have this thing, others ought not to interfere?
Insofar as ought is taken to imply can, that means that
Wait,
we
I
would say
know.
that in order for you to
didn't
do
define
that.
ought like that. You didn't define ought as a can.
Whoa, sorry, I didn't say that that's the definition. I said that ought implies can. That, for example, it would make no sense at all to say, like, you ought stop the Holocaust. You can't. It's over.
Okay, but your definition doesn't fit what you're saying. You said ought is just a reason to do something, and you said
Yeah,
a
a reason to
false.
take an action, you know. The reason why ought implies can is because in order for something to count in consideration of you doing an action, you would need to be able to do the action. Otherwise, it doesn't count in favor of doing it. That's why ought implies can. And ought implies can is why others must not interfere with something that you ought have, because if you ought have it, then that means that you can have it. But in order for you to have it, that means others would need to not interfere with it.
Yeah. Okay. I'll grant you all the premises. I want to ask you some
Okay, wait,
questions
sure.
about
So then
that.
you concede the argument. You concede that atheists have morality. Thanks for playing. Appreciate it.
I want to wait. So you're scared for me to ask you the questions?
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, do you acknowledge that you just conceded?
I said I'll grant you the argument.
Indeed, atheists do have objective morality?
No.
Wait, sorry. Then which premise do you reject?
Repeat premise 7.
Premise 7, if I'm not mistaken, is just going to be an outward-facing. If I have, if others ought not interfere with this, then I have a right to it.
I'll reject premise 6. I don't. If someone
Which is what?
isn't it? You said premise 6. If you have an ought, other people shouldn't interfere, right?
Yeah, that they ought not interfere. Do you reject that ought implies can?
Do I reject ought? So are you saying, like, are they synonyms?
No.
No.
Like, if you ought do something, then that means that you can do it. Like, it needs to be possible for you to do something. If you ought do something, then it's possible for you to do it.
Well, no, I reject that. I don't think it's. Well, what type of are we talking about? Nomologic?
No, logically possible. Yeah.
Oh, if we're just talking about logical possibility, sure.
Sure.
Wait, but it's hold on. No, it's logic. Wait, hold on.
Oh, fuck. He realized that he was conceding again.
Wait, it's logically possible for me to go stop the Holocaust. So does that mean I ought to go stop the Holocaust?
I disagree with that. I don't think it is logically possible for you to go stop the Holocaust.
What's the contradiction? What's the P and
yeah, insofar, sure. I'd say that the contradiction is that you would both need to exist at that time, but also that it's not possible for you to exist at that time.
Wait, hold on. That wasn't stated within the proposition. Do you know anything about model theory?
I think you mean modal theory.
No, model theory.
No, I'm not familiar with model theory.
Yeah, model theory is just saying, regardless of the, I'll simplify it. Regardless of the worldview, when a syntax of predicates is being invoked in a proposition, there directly has to be a relation, right, to derive any form of contradiction. So the worldview wouldn't matter. Okay.
Wait, sorry. So you're saying that what I said isn't a contradiction?
No, it's not a contradiction.
You don't think you need to exist at that time and you don't exist at that time is a contradiction?
It's possible for me to exist at that time.
And not exist at that time?
I'm saying it's possible for me to go back in time.
Is it a contradiction to say that you both do and don't exist at that time? Is that a contradiction?
Yeah, that's a contradiction.
So when you said that wasn't a contradiction, you were just wrong.
No, I'm saying the way you're applying it isn't a contradiction.
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, but didn't you say that wasn't a contradiction?
That what wasn't a contradiction?
That what I said wasn't a contradiction?
No, what you said was a contradiction.
If God exists, wouldn't we expect you to be able to track basic logic?
I am
Like, wouldn't
tracking
we expect that
You're
you'd be
talking
like
about
designed,
logic. You don't even know what
wouldn't
model
he like
theory
finely
is.
tune your brain such that you'd be able to track the argument?
Yeah, it's
If
simple.
God
There's
exists,
no.
why does he want you to blunder so badly?
Okay. Well. Yeah. So Ian, I'll break it down for you. There's no categorical predicates. Okay, being invoked 2 times in the proposition, I am going to go back in time and stop the Holocaust. Okay, if you can give me 2 categorical predicates that are being invoked at the same time. Oh my gosh, and you're talking about basic logic. Okay, so when we have a categorical predicate, right? Do you know what a predicate is at least?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Right, a predicate is just that which describes the subject. Okay. So you have to have two predicates describing the same subject under the same category. Okay, under the
I'm
same
sorry,
category.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting here. You understand what the word can means, right?
Yes.
It can be understood colloquially. It doesn't have to require a specific, explicit modal scope. When we say that
we're not talking about modality, bro.
Means well, we were, because the question was about
no, we're
logical
not.
modality or not. The question was about logical modality as opposed to nomological modality, so we absolutely were.
No, we're not even talking about nomological.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah,
hold on.
This is a question that you asked.
I got a
You
warning
asked the question.
for the live stream. It says keep your live engaging, turn your camera off, showing. Okay, because our TikTok studio froze, it doesn't think we have a camera anymore. It's gonna cut our live. Let me restart.
Fuck?
I know TikTok studio acting a fool. Let me restart the TikTok live stream. We'll leave the YouTube stream open, but I'll just restart.
If you're watching on TikTok, go watch on YouTube instead.
True.
Okay, we'll be right back, friends.
Yep.
That doesn't happen too often. I don't usually see TikTok studio freezing.
Wow, I mean, you saved me from my blunder.
Oh no!
Exactly.
He was getting so cooked.
Like, the statement "ought" implies "can" is kind of obvious. Ought means a reason to do something, and to do something is a thing that you can do. You cannot do something if you can't do it.
Yeah, probably the correct modality there is
it's metaphysical modality.
Probably. Metaphysical, sure. What do you think the metaphysical contradiction would be?
Well, I don't know. You want something that's a little bit weaker than nomological modality, because you don't want to say that you can't ought do something if you think if it's physically impossible, right? Like if it's well, actually maybe that is what you want, because
I think you probably do want to say nomological. I'm not sure how you would, because presumably you want to say that you don't have like a moral obligation to go and stop the Holocaust. That like you personally and me personally, like we don't have that sort of obligation. That seems to be.
Yeah, but you do have a moral obligation to stop Hans Sprechter.
What's that?
Well, so there was this time traveler who went back in time and killed this guy named Hans Sprechter because he was like the worst dude. He killed like 500 Jews. He was a German dictator, you know, in the 1940s, and but you probably don't remember him because, you know, the time traveler killed him. And hopefully that made this timeline better.
Insightful. Brave.
Unfortunately, it didn't. It was a bit from something that I saw a while ago. It's better told in a video than it is in a
Okay, so I restarted TikTok. And I think we should be good to go on TikTok. Just got a request up now.
Okay. I'm just trying to fill air though.
But presumably there's like laws of physics reasons why time travel isn't possible.
Yeah, it's actually pretty hotly debated. But I mean, either it's possible or it's not. Whether or not, like, you know, just depends on what the real laws of physics are. And so like Sorry. It could just be the case that maybe we're wrong that time travel is possible, and then you would just give a different example of something that's impossible.
That's right. Maybe I guess you could interpret the reason for the case that I'm citing. You could probably interpret it as like metaphysical modality, Because there would be like a causal contradiction in that.
Well, no, I mean, like it might not be, right? There might actually be like there might be some physical way to make it happen, and if it's physically possible, then it's certainly metaphysically possible.
That's true.
I guess what I'm getting at is that there will surely be things that are physically. Actually, we should back up. I actually think that you probably need something even weaker than nomological possibility, or the nomological possibility. You need something that's like feasible, right? You can't have a reason to like even if it's physically possible to, go back in time and stop the Holocaust. That's not something that you and I can do. We don't have time machines. Even if maybe in 1,000 years somebody will have time machines, we don't have those, so it's not feasible for us to do that. There has to be some sort of feasibility requirement.
Yeah,
in order to say that one can do it.
Maybe a consideration for that. That kind of sounds like the thing that we're outlining there is like moral responsibility, that maybe we would say like full-throatedly, like, yeah, if there's literally any physically possible way at all, like you ought go back and stop the Holocaust. However, because that's like something that nobody knows, typically the way that we dole out moral responsibility is by asking like, how easy would it have been for you to do the right thing? And if it's like practically impossible, then basically you have no responsibility.
Yeah, okay, that's probably right. Well, would you say that Yeah, okay. That's plausible. Yeah, we have some super chats to read though, so let's go over those.
Yeah, I think everything's up and running. So grab some super chats, friends, and we'll get our next guest in here. Sean, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Says John is ethnically Jewish, but not Jewish in any religious sense of the word. Well, that's good to know. Now I don't have to.
Yeah, I mean that's what I assumed.
Yeah, I don't have to ask him personally. Thank you, appreciate that. And Nightman, good to see you. Says, is Emily a Q-top variant?
No, he's better faith.
Yeah, I think.
True.
There's that. He'll remind you of Q-top, but yeah, I think Q-top doesn't come in good faith.
I think I spoke to Emily fairly recently. I think I put a video out actually, and it was like, young Muslim thinks blah 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 or something like this. I think he claimed to be Muslim there, but maybe.
Well, surely not Emily, because Emily is Christian.
Shirley.
Sure. Yeah,
and don't call me Shirley.
And Cheese, good to see you this morning. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Says, I don't believe in granting Christian claims about babies going to heaven when there's zero scriptural evidence to support the age of accountability, or even idea souls can go to heaven is not in the Bible. Actually, this is something I used to say the exact same thing, but I actually put together a Word document with quite a few reasons from the Bible why we would think that babies go to heaven when they die as opposed to hell. But I don't know if it's worth trouncing through that at this point. But certainly, if you're interested, shoot me a message or an email, and I'll send you my documentation on that one. And Zach, Zach Petronoff. Oh, okay. Zach says, it's a caller, has some of the worst Christian dogma I've ever heard. If he isn't trolling, I genuinely feel terrible for the abusive brainwashing he went through. I hope he sees a therapist and learns he deserves to be loved. Well, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. I agree. When he first said that, like all of us deserve to die. Like we don't even deserve to have a good life. Like what kind of nonsense was put into this kid's head to make him think that he's so worthless that you're not even allowed to be happy as a human being? Crazy.
Seriously, that, and like, I don't know, just from like a rhetorical perspective, surely that can't be the way that somebody's like going out to win souls. Like, that's crazy.
Right? I mean, like, imagine like that's not how it worked back in the, maybe that actually is how it worked in the 300s or whatever. But you have these, or the first, second, third century, you have all these people going around not saying you deserve to die, you deserve hell. No, they were saying you are loved. If all you do is accept this guy, then you go to heaven. That's how you win souls. You don't say that you deserve to die and that you deserve the worst possible punishments.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's
a
crazy bullet to bite.
Might work in like one of the prison ministries, but I don't think it works in real life. Billy, thank you for the $2 super chat. Says, my favorite Tom Rabbit clown is Defoe John Lee? Defoe John Lee?
That means definitely.
Okay. Yep, spurious O at the end of the abbreviated form. That's fine. I have to look him up. I don't know John Lee's, and now I'm kind of curious what happened. But I thought I saw all of Tom's videos too. I must be behind. Basic Share says Christianity is a death cult. I hecking hate it, and we agree with you. It's certainly a failed apocalyptic death cult, and they just keep failing every year too. Every time we get a new prediction for the end.
Justin, have you seen Eddie? Somebody said that Edward's Dilemma said that you skipped my super chat. Have you seen it?
I have not skipped any super chats. I would reiterate that I don't read them in the order that they come in.
Okay.
Interesting.
We'll get you. We'll get you. Don't worry.
As long as you see it and it's not been skipped, it's fine.
From Edward?
Yeah.
Let me make sure it's in the list. Hold on. I don't see a super chat from Edward's Dilemma, actually.
Do you have a?
It might be a different name.
Do you have the social blade from both, the horizontal and the vertical?
Yeah.
Do you control both the horizontal and the vertical?
I am the gatekeeper. Yeah. Yeah. They're both alive and active. In fact, if you're on the vertical feed, just throw a comment in the chat saying this is from the vertical feed.
He says you just had it on the screen under my YouTube handle. I don't know what his YouTube. Lifeless Ordinary is, I guess, the YouTube handle.
Oh, I wasn't looking for that. Hold on. Lifeless Ordinary. No, I don't see one.
Okay. It was in yellow, I guess.
No, I don't see anything in here from a Lifeless Ordinary. Sorry.
Okay.
Not sure what to tell you there, friend. I mean, if it doesn't show in my software, then it doesn't exist. I can't.
I think he said it was on the screen already.
But if it's not in here, sorry, there is one that was already pulled up.
One that would have been read, yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
I pulled it up, but we didn't read it yet because I got distracted.
Oh, okay.
Fair point. This was one we were about to read, and then we got caught up in conversation. It says, why do Christians trivialize people's suffering if they think that the victim is, I think that says going
It's the
to
funniest
heaven?
typo. Yeah.
But think the opposite when they talk about Jesus' suffering. Yeah, I think Joel Reed's Bible is the one who brought this up the first time when I was thinking about this, which is if our suffering here is meaningless because we have an eternity of heaven afterwards, well, it just means that Jesus' suffering is even less meaningful because he knew he was God. He had a pre-existence that was forever and an existence in the future that is forever. So his suffering is useless, like nothing. We do agree with that one. Dr. Carla.
There's I don't know. There's something. I know that there's like some literature on the idea of like an anti-theodicy. But it's like, I know that there's like a type of argument that basically argues that the entire project of theodicies is like deeply unethical. That in fact, like sending people to go and like justify atrocities is like a horrible thing that Christians are like locked into, and kind of like all religious people are locked into.
Yeah. Dr. Carl, thank you for the super chat, says, I haven't heard Blitz in like a week. Can we please turn up his volume? He's pretty quiet on YouTube. Thanks. Oh, yeah. Hold on.
If I'm quiet, please turn me up.
It actually is
also,
a little
it hasn't been a week. I was definitely live on Wednesday.
All right. Let me know, y'all, if the audio is still not balanced. I'd turn Blitz up a little bit. If it's not balanced, just throw some comments in there and let us know so we can get it corrected. Thank you, Dr. Carl. I appreciate the help there. And Maddie says, when God shows up to the Amalekites and you see him enchant his weapon and quick save. That's some gaming stuff that I don't know about.
100% what happened. Absolutely 100% what happened. Bro just hit a quick F5 and then just like kept quick loading until they were all dead.
And another one from Maddie, thank you, friend, says, this guest put 0 points in charisma. Or is that charisma? I don't know if it's a misspelling of charisma.
It must be charisma.
Okay. Bro sounds like he's in a constant state of his mom waking up for school and doesn't want to go downstairs.
Aren't we
Maybe.
Aren't we
But
all?
haven't you considered the ontological consequences of me going to school today?
And Kane says, chill out, Dr. Blitz. No Infinity Gauntlet for you. Oh, no.
Yeah, I would snap away Hans Spector.
You need to get, Justin, you need to get on your soundboard something. You need to get like the Thanos voice clip where he says, reality can be whatever I want it to be.
Oh,
you
no
could also do
way.
the it is inevitable thing. That's also pretty good.
Okay. I don't know any of these sound clips. I'll find them, though.
Of course you don't.
All right. Maddie said, listen, I don't have to know these things because I know you both know them. I'm farming it out.
Sure. That's fair enough, right? You know, we all have our unique role on Unapologetic. You know, Blitz and I do pop culture. Justin is an old head.
Justin
thank
will
you.
remind us about the 72s and the 36s and, you know, the what's his name, the Babe Ruths and the...
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
We'll remind him of the 6'7s.
Back when I was in Nam, fellas, Maddie says, this is
Disavow.
Wait, what? What I do? Yeah.
War crimes.
Oh, brew. I was drafted. This is the universal particular God's mind guy. Yeah, that guy definitely was up here before because I remember his voice and I remember having the same conversation of the difference between model and modal and thinking that it wasn't, he got the two words mixed up.
Fuck. History really does repeat itself. Isn't that crazy?
Right?
So you can go back in time and stop the Holocaust.
Maybe. Rocky69 says, why do most Phil bros have the same speech cadence? I actually think it's tactical, isn't it, Ian?
No, I think it's just lack of social development.
I have no idea. Well, I it might be tactical, right? Like, I think that there might be like that element where some of the higher tier Discord people, according to Discord people, are like they really are trying to be like completely nonchalant. They're trying to say all their sentences without any pauses in a monotone affect. They think it's like rhetorical when instead they sound like bored.
Yeah. And
for some people it does work.
But... I mean, like, it's definitely speculating here. I imagine it comes from the people who watch lots of anime and they see the hero or perhaps even the villain who's just like deflecting all of the punches, just nonchalant, casually, just talking it, not exerting any effort. It's got to be derivative from that.
That seems plausible. I'd be willing to believe that.
Especially because most Discord debaters are originally anime debaters.
True. How do you know that, Dr. Blitz?
Through the grapevine.
Okay.
We got 4 more super chats, friends. We get our next guest in here. Robert says, is it worth talking about how that we have no original writings for religion like Christianity? I feel like I don't see it talked about as much. I think it comes up a lot on my stream. We talk about the biblical documents not being like really good, trustworthy documents because they're not really from the same time period we want them to be in. They're by second-hand, sometimes third-hand supposed witnesses. But yeah, I mean, stick around. It'll come up. I don't know how often we talk about it on Unapologetic, but we talk about it on my channel quite a bit. And Spaghetti says, just some support from my favorite streamers. Thank you, Spaghetti. We really appreciate that. Yeah, and one of the things that really helps our Unapologetic show work is that we have people that are willing to support us through super chat and memberships and liking and sharing and commenting on the videos. It really does help the channel a lot. And Kane says, so atheists have no morals because no time machine.
Yeah,
Maybe.
True. That's the argument.
Many have been saying this, yeah.
Premise 1, if atheists have morals, then there are time machines. Premise 2, there are no time machines. Conclusion, by Modus Tollens, atheists have no morals.
It checks out.
Compelling. That was very compelling.
The last super chat from Ekipoo says, do you not recognize Emily was free? Oh, you mean...
Probably.
No,
PhD
that's
free.
not free.
It's... Oh, well, yeah, no, actually, I think it was the guy that showed up on my channel the other day. Whose name I don't remember. But it's not super relevant anyway.
And speaking of the devil, I agree. Speaking of the devil, Carissa is with us and sent out 20 Unapologetic gifted memberships. That is huge, gigantic.
There you go.
Helps the channel in all kinds of ways.
I was hoping you would use the soundboard. It's the perfect sound.
That's the one for that one. Yeah. Thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate you. I believe Constantine Chronicles was next in line, so we'll bring in Constantine.
I believe I've spoken with Constantine before. Constantine is you who I think you is?
I am who you think I is.
Yeah, well, glad to hear you. Well, look, so you and I have spoken before, so I'm going to let you speak to the other two fellas.
Okay.
But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I came up to speak to Justin. Did I get your name right?
Yeah.
Yeah, earlier when you were talking to M, you said that the hermeneutic method of historical grammatical method, that wasn't an actual method, but you probably didn't mean to say that, did you?
No, I did mean it. There's a historical hermeneutic for sure, and typically, like, there's different
historical
variants
grammatical
of the,
specifically.
typically,
You
there's
said
different variants
didn't
of
exist.
there's typical variants of the historical method. You might have a method that you
the claim was that the historical grammatical method was not a.
You might have a hermeneutic that you like to call the historical grammatical, but as it turns out, like, there are hermeneutics that are just grammatical. There are hermeneutics that are just historical. You can combine two of them if you want, but if you open up a book on hermeneutics, historical grammatical is probably not the title you're going to find it under. But I'm sure you've got somebody on the internet that has named it the historical grammatical method, and that's fine. But that actually, I think, is confusing two different methods.
Yeah, every major hermeneutic textbook is going to call that a method.
Unfortunately, that's not true.
Okay, so Milton, Terry, Bernard Rahm, Kaiser Silva, Grant Osborne all explicitly treat the historical grammatic approach as a hermeneutic method. So why would you say that?
Because I have other hermeneutic books that don't include it, so it's not like a universally used hermeneutic. And again,
so you're going to deny that it's a method because you're going to count noses in the room?
That's I didn't deny that it was a method. I'm just saying that.
Yes, you did. With the other guy, you denied that it was a method.
Okay, well then I was heavy-handed. I was heavy-handed then. I shouldn't have said that.
That's fine. We can talk about something else. What are your views on the, let's say, escalation of Markan Christology? I've heard you take the position that it's low.
That's what low? What do you mean by escalation?
Yeah, the escalation of Christology through the synoptic problem as it purports to Mark. Do you believe Mark presents a low Christology?
Again, I don't know what you mean by escalation. So when I'm using the
Mark, it escalates up to the Johannine script. Do you believe that Mark presents a low Christology? Have you not said that before?
No. What I said is I believe the Markan theology is like adoptionism. So, for example, the same way we would say that David is an adopted son based on Psalm 2, I would say that the Jesus of the Gospel of Mark, whatever the original text was, at least points towards adoptionism.
Yeah, when you say that the adoptionism occurred at the baptism, and you invoke Psalms 2, why would Mark leave out "Today I have begotten you" if he was adoptionistic?
I didn't say that the baptism was the de facto proof text for this.
But you just mentioned that he was adopted. So
like,
at what point in the narrative was he adopted?
Like you want to argue against a straw man and not actually what I brought up.
Well, you just said he was adopted. When was he adopted?
Also, well, it doesn't matter the exact moment. None of that's relevant.
Are you sure it doesn't matter? That's going to go against the prolegomma of Mark's opening thesis, and then you're going to have a hard time defending that position. So when was he adopted?
It could have been at the Transfiguration. It could have been at the baptism. It could have been at the Incarnation.
Why would it be at the Transfiguration?
There's about a dozen different locations in his life that you could say that this is an adoption. But
okay, also, pick one. Let's go with it.
But also, none of this is actually relevant to the topic. Did you actually
do you not want to debate this? But this is your position. Do you not want to debate this? That's really wild. When was he adopted, Justin?
It's not a position that I care about.
Oh, okay. So this is so at no time are you ever going to defend something that you believe in, such as this historical grammatical method, or
so if adoptionism was important to like my argument, I would argue it, but it's not important. Like if Mark isn't an adoptionist gospel, it doesn't change my position.
On the argument.
If Mark isn't an adoptionist gospel, then it doesn't change my position. It's not relevant to the position that I hold. Now, it just happens to be that I'm not the only one that holds this position on Mark. There are a lot of scholars who believe that Mark had an adoptionist theology, but it's not important to whether or not Jesus is the Messiah or whether or not he rose from the dead or whether or not he fulfilled prophecies. None of that's important. It's also really speculative. The scholars who agree that Mark is an adoptionist gospel will tell you that there's some speculation happening here.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm really interested in what you believe. So if you're not going to defend that Mark was an adoptionist, maybe you shouldn't say it anymore.
I can defend it, but it's not relevant to my position. See, I'm not
Okay,
here
so
doing.
now there is a hermeneutic that's.
So my position is not that my theological position should be accepted. I'm not debating theology because I'm not a Christian, right? So it doesn't matter to me one way or another if Mark is adoptionist or not, and I just happen to agree with the scholars who think that Mark is adoptionist. But it has nothing to do with whether or not the Christian God is real.
Okay, so are you going to mute me, or am I going to be able to talk?
Well, I have to mute you because you keep shouting over me every time I speak.
So just a receipt of the conversation, Justin. At no point are you going to be able to say from going forward, because by your own admission, you were heavy-handed, that the historical grammatical method is not a method of hermeneutics. And at no point are you going to be able to present that Mark executes a low Christology within his narrative.
They're so desperate to try to win a point.
At no point.
Like they're just
no
dying
point are you going to be able to
inside.
claim
Can I get 1 point? I can't prove my God, but I just want to get 1 point. Please give me 1 point.
This is your thesis, Justin. This is your thesis. I'm just trying to get you to defend it. Wait, you just admitted to it earlier. You said you believed Mark was an adoptionist. Now defend what you believe.
Again, I don't care.
That's
wild. Laughing like the
crash
Joker
out laugh is wild.
Why won't you defend what you believe,
listen,
Justin?
You know, I know the audience. You know, I know that you're like a hinged, reasonable individual, but I'm worried that the audience, when you start like cackling like the Joker, might come away with the opposite impression.
Oh no, I do have all kinds of social disorders, and that hackle is reflective of my awkward nature.
You definitely do.
Less about my character and more about the content.
So we'll recenter the conversation the way we do with most guests, which is, would you like to actually engage in the topic, or do you want to just debate like you think your theological position is better than my theological position?
Yeah, I just want to call you out on what you believe. So you do that on this live.
So you don't actually want to talk about the topic?
Presents an adoptionist Christology.
So you don't want to address the topic, is what you're saying. Is that correct?
Bro, I'm pulling up on you. Are you going to engage?
But I think you're pulling up on somebody that you wish was on stage right now.
You made a claim.
Rather than the person that is on stage. The person that is on stage is saying that your God isn't real. My position doesn't change based on any of these theological points we've just discussed.
Okay, that's fine. So you're just going to concede on the baptism narrative and the adoptionist narrative?
Oh,
and
definitely
the historical grammatical method? Oh, okay, nope. So then let's talk about that.
Nope. We're talking about the topic.
Why don't you want to argue that, Justin? That's really strange.
Because
it's not something biblically, and you're a biblical scholar.
Because it's not the topic. The topic is not whether or not Mark is an adoptionist gospel. It's completely irrelevant to the topic. And I know you want to change the topic because deep down you know you can't actually defend it.
If I was anyone else, you'd have...
So what we're going to need you to do is to collect yourself, gird your loins, and try to address the actual topic.
Yeah, so that's just going to be a dodge. So this is it. Justin has a position
on Mark and Christology that he can't not defend. A dodge.
If I was anybody...
It's certainly not a dodge. It's just not the topic, right? So, like, if somebody,
for what it's worth, I've had like flat earthers who come up onto my atheist debate live streams, and they're like, "Oh, you're just dodging the globe lies." I'm like, no, just come back when I'm talking about that.
Yeah.
Like the topic is not about the Christology of Mark, right? Like it's just not the topic today.
Okay, so that's fine. If the topic's not about that, but this is I think this is just really admissible, right? Justin holds to some beliefs within the biblical narrative specific to Mark's Christology that he doesn't want to defend. Now, if I was any other Christian up here, I'm pretty sure you would enjoy the walk.
It's not the it's not the topic, and I don't know how many times we have to say it, but it's not the topic. It's not relevant to our conversation. Nobody here, there's not a single person in this audience right now that cares whether or not Mark is an adoptionist gospel.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Okay, so do you believe that?
Do I believe what?
Do you believe that Mark was an adoptionist?
I already told you that's my position. It's also not the topic.
Cool, let's defend that.
We won't be doing that.
I'll tell you what, maybe me and you can designate a time where we can have this conversation, Justin.
You're more than happy to come up on my live stream sometime, and we'll discuss it. I'm sure we will.
Bro.
But a fucking
Wait,
coward.
do you not want to defend your God?
No,
I guess not.
He's a tag runner, by the way. He runs tag. That's what he does, and he learned from Darth Dawkins. So
sure,
yeah.
I actually used to have a fairly good relationship with him, and then he got significantly less good faith over time. I don't know what happened. I've had 2 conversations with him. The first was super good faith, super charitable. There was a decent back and forth. We were trying to understand each other's views. He was still running tag, but he was at least doing it in a good faith way. The second time I had him up, he was just like dodging left and right, and like, you know, he was like a whatever, like the fucking what's the guy from Karate Kid, the guy who was dodging all over the place. Anyway,
Yeah.
he did that the second day. I don't know what happened to him. He seemed like he was a chill guy, but I think hanging around Darth Dawkins too much probably changed his temperament.
I didn't detect that he came into this conversation good faith at all. He came in mad. We can tell right from the jump that he came in mad, and he just wanted to see if he could score a point, which is fine. I think I gave him a point. The historical grammatical method is definitely a mashup of 2 different methods for anyone who's
Somebody in the
interested.
comments is saying Blitz is crying. I'm gonna invite them up.
Blitz is crying?
Yeah, I wasn't even really talking. I was just talking about the guy afterwards because I had conversations with him.
Okay. Who are we bringing up?
Well, I invited him. It looks like he's a coward, though.
They're not in the guest box.
St. Paul
Okay.
Apologetics. Yeah.
We'll give him a second to load up. Let me grab. I think we got.
He rejected the invite.
Okay, not a problem.
Yeah, he's running away. That's
Well,
fine.
then we'll get Oppo in here next. Swearwolf says Phil Bros just haven't discovered the anime power of friendship. Maybe. Yeah.
True. You're onto something.
Yeah.
They just gotta draw a smiley face on their 3 other friends' hands and then stick their hands together and then.
I watched Yu-Gi-Oh! I get the reference.
Yeah, you did. Of course, Justin didn't. Justin doesn't know what a Yugi is or an O. And he certainly doesn't know what happens when
doesn't know
Yugi.
what Pharaoh is.
Yeah.
Fucking shit.
Tim says,
Could you even name 3 Millennium items, Justin?
what's Millennium?
Oh my god. No, we can move past this. Never mind.
Have you ever even heard of the Shadow Realm?
Oh,
No.
my.
Sorry, guys. Tim says, why do they attack atheists? We're theological Switzerland. Shouldn't they go after each other? That's a fair point. That's what I'm saying, Tim, with that last guess. I don't care, like, to debate whether or not Mark is a adoptionist gospel, because it's not relevant to my position. It's like arguing, like, is hell a physical place that you go forever or temporary? Who the fuck cares? Like, it's not relevant. Like, this is what you Christians need to go argue about. Tim says, they keep calling on Herman, but Mr. Nudix never saves them. They never does. And they're never going to. And Joshua, thank you for the super chat, says, with followers like this, Constantine dipshit, whoever this Jesus guy is, must be a massive a-hole. Yeah. If he's doing the Lord's work, well, I don't know if I like his work. Eat Some Short says, guest came to crash out. He absolutely came to crash out. That's fine. We don't mind a crash out. I am the Big Cheese says, only losers cry about Martian Christology. I think you'd be marking, but yeah.
You know, I watched The Martian last night, and turns out he actually thinks that Jesus would forgive him for desecrating a cross. So just saying, Martian Christology might be actually pretty low.
Also, we just got another fucking warning on TikTok. Your live contains themes that some may find uncomfortable and has been restricted. Reasons, harassment and bullying.
Well, yeah, that's okay.
It says we're
don't
only
need to
restricted for 10 minutes. So I guess we'll just wait out 10 minutes. Okay. Last super chat from Judith. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. It says, Justin, I received your Jesus timeline mug yesterday. Dope. I think I managed to order it last, like Jesus was the last dying and rising God. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't even know if I remember what the Jesus timeline mug is. Oh, that one. Yeah. Jesus came. He lied. He died. End of story. Yeah, that was a good one. I like that one. Thank you for ordering. I appreciate that, friend. Okay. So the guest that was going to come in next has dropped. So that means Truth is next. And after Truth is going to be Samantha. Welcome in, Truth.
Guys.
Yeah, how you doing?
Nothing much. I joined to talk to you guys real quick about ethics. I don't know if that's allowable for now. Good
do you
faith.
believe in God?
I'm a moral realist, and I'm diving very deep into moral
you believe in God,
objectivism. No.
Oh.
Probably you should just like join my Discord or something. Lots of people there would love to have this conversation with you.
Well, I wanted to have a conversation with you, Ian, but I'll try to join your live on a better time.
Please, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good day, guys. Thank you for having me.
You as well. Yeah.
Later, Gator.
But you should definitely join the Discord. It sounds like you'd be a great fit there. You're an atheist who's a moral realist. We'd love to talk to you there.
And for anyone watching on YouTube, you can join the discussion. You don't have to have TikTok by using the link on the screen, tiny.cc/UA guest. We'd love to hear about your God. And if you're watching on TikTok, hey, now's a good time to request up. There's only one person in queue right now, which means you'll be on deck if you get in the request queue now, as opposed to towards the end of the stream, which seems to always happen. We always seem to have a bunch of people that we have to leave hanging at the end because they waited too long to get into the guest box. But also, Carissa with 10 more Unapologetic gifted memberships. That is fucking huge. We super appreciate that, Carissa. That really helps the channel a lot. And Samantha. Yep, Samantha's coming on up. How you doing, Samantha?
My other account got banned, but it is me.
You mean this is
so many?
This is Emily?
Bro, stop calling me that.
Why do you have so many accounts?
Why are they all? Why do they all have like women's names?
I'm using my little sister iPad.
Do you not have an account for yourself?
You said, do I have an account for myself?
Yeah.
They're banned. That's what I told you, bro.
Why? Why are they banned?
Look, bro, I be joining live sometimes, and then I be joining politics, and then they ban me because they know what I be speaking is the truth because they keep reporting me.
No, I don't think TikTok's banning you because you're speaking the truth. You're probably saying some shit that's against the rules, against the terms of service.
Yeah, I guess saying that, supporting the president against, but, bro, they just ban me because I speak the truth and speak the truth only.
That's certainly not the
I have
case.
to join on my sister. I join on my sister iPad.
I'm sure white supremacists say the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's the argument? Where'd we leave off?
Oh,
Ian, you remember what we were
Ian
talking
was
about?
saying there's a logical contradiction with building a time machine and going back in time.
No,
so go ahead, Ian.
We've conferred about this. I think we've come to the conclusion that probably the sort of ought implies can, like the modal scope there, is probably going to be like nomological
No, we were talking about
possibility.
logical possibility. We were talking about, is it logically possible to go back in time and
I'm
stop the
telling you that
Holocaust?
my position has changed because Dr. Blitz and I talked about it.
Yeah, I know your position changed. You were wrong, right? You agree?
Yeah, no, I probably was wrong on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So
I
would
know
you
were
agree with
wrong.
that
You don't have to
premise
tell me.
that ought implies can under the nomological
No.
framework?
Oh,
Sure.
under nomological. Oh, under nomological. What happened?
Well, I just told you. I talked to Dr. Blitz. I think I've told you this like 3 times.
Under nomological framework. No,
Yeah.
not necessarily. No.
Oh, sure. Wait, so would you say that you have an obligation to stop the Holocaust? Like, you personally?
Do I have an obligation? I can't stop the Holocaust.
Oh, fuck, he just conceded. Ought implies can. Thank you. I appreciate that
just
concession.
Just because I can't.
So
doesn't mean it's not
your
possible.
inability,
What are you talking about?
if you can't do something, then you do not have the obligation to do it. The contrapositive of that is that
that's
ought
not
implies can.
Wait. So you're saying since if you can't nomonologically do something, that means you don't have the obligation. Okay, perfect.
You just conceded.
It's not. Wait, hold on. It's not nomonologically possible for me to take a woman up to Mars and assault her, right? But I have an obligation not to. But it's not nomonologically possible.
Wait, sorry, what's the ought in this situation?
What do you mean? What's ought is just a reason not to. Yeah, it's going to be under my will.
In this circumstance, you're giving me something that you ought not to, but I'm saying we're specifically talking about things that you ought to. And I'm sorry, wait, can we get the acknowledgement that you conceded that ought implies can?
That
when
implies
asked,
can, no.
why ought you not, why do you ought not stop the Holocaust? You said, well, I can't.
Why
So
I ought
careful.
not to stop the? That's
He
a
didn't
category.
say he ought not. It was he doesn't have the ought to stop the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no, it's a what you're saying is a category error. One, you're describing an action that took place, and another, you're describing what.
Wait, sorry. When
what
you say a
can
category
occur.
error, what's the category that I'm mistakenly ascribing it to?
Yeah, past and future.
Wait, sorry. So what am I including in the past and the future that are not capable of being in the past or the future? Like, what are the atemporal beings? I don't think you know what a category error is.
I do know the category error. Category error is when you divide a predicate into a category that's not meant to be in there. Okay. So
Sure. Wait. So what's the atemporal thing that I'm trying to put into time?
I'm not saying atemporal. What are you talking about?
That is what you're saying, because you're saying the category is past and future. So you're saying something that couldn't possibly be in the past or the future. You just did.
I said the Holocaust would be in the category of the
another
past.
great piece of evidence against God's existence. You know, we'd really expect you to be able to track the words that came out of your own mouth.
Yeah, Ian, I am tracking. So I said the Holocaust would be a thing in the past, and ought would be a thing in the present to the future. So ought cannot apply to the past, right? Because an ought is something that applies to the present and the future.
When asked why you don't have the obligation, you said it's because you can't. Do you forget that?
Because it's a category error. It's like if I
Wait,
asked
did you say did you or did you not say it's because you can't?
It's a category. Yeah, you can't make a blue whale taste like Wednesday, obviously.
Sure. So then you would say ought implies can. That can't implies no ought. Therefore, ought implies can.
Ought doesn't necessarily imply can.
Wait, Samantha, do you agree that if you can't do something, it therefore follows that you don't have the ought to do that thing?
No, that doesn't follow.
Okay. So then why did you respond with, I can't do it, as a reason as to why you don't have the ought?
Wait. For example, if I'm an amputee and I have my legs cut off, I ought not to use all the power in my body to try to jump from my wheelchair and stab a woman, right? Even though it's not logically possible
to be clear, you're
to generate that many
kind of
pounds
muddying
of
the waters
force.
here. You're confusing the language here. The language is not that you ought not do something, it's that you don't have the ought to do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I ought. Wait, hold on. You're saying it's not. You're not talking about ought not to do something.
It's not cannot implies ought not. It's cannot implies lack of ought.
Yeah.
I'm saying just because you can't do something doesn't mean you don't have the ought to not do it.
We're not talking about the ought to not do something. We're talking about the ought to do something, with even if you can't do it.
You're saying the ought to do something even if you can't. I'm not confused at all. I'm understanding your
the
position
negation of
perfectly.
having an ought is not having an ought not to do something.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll grant
what's
that.
being pointed out? Sure.
Then
so
why are you
would
making
agree
that
that can't implies.
That wasn't the
there's no
point.
ought?
Hold on. That wasn't the point. You were first speaking about what ought not.
No, we're not talking about what ought not. We're talking what ought you don't have.
Well, ought not would just be a double negation to what you ought to do. Dummy.
No, it's not.
Nope.
What's the
Having
double
an ought
negation?
to do something is not the negation of, or the negation of having an ought to do something is not having an ought to not do something.
No, I
That is
said a
not the
double
negation of
negation.
ought.
What do you know what a double negation
A double
is?
negation of double negation of a thing is the same thing as the original thing.
Okay, so I'm saying you ought to do something, right? It would be the same thing as saying you ought not to do the antithesis of this thing.
Bro, this guy is like ontologically incapable of tracking. Like, this is incredible.
I'll track
Aren't you the
perfectly.
God's mind
you're
guy?
very
Like,
confused.
so
God's
man,
mind? Are you talking
there's
about
so much
idealism?
confusion within God's mind. This is incredible.
I'm not confused at all.
You're very confused.
Extremely
You think
confused.
I'm not
that the double
confused at
negation
all.
of having an ought to do something means that you ought not do the opposite of the thing. That's not the double. That's not the double negation.
I didn't say
You did
that. I didn't say that.
That is
I
what
didn't
you
say.
said.
I said
The double
wait, hold on.
negation
I said
of having the
bro,
ought to do
you're
something
strawmanning my
is
position.
not having the ought to do that thing.
Wait, you're strawmanning my position was if you ought to do something, then the antithesis of that thing you ought to do, you shall ought not to do. Dummy. That's how simple
the
it is.
antithesis? What is the antithesis?
Do you know what antithesis is?
That's not a
Antithesis is-
negation.
Wait, the antithesis is just the opposite of a subject, right? So when we have a subject and you ought not to do this certain
Yeah, the
thing,
antithesis is irrelevant here. We're talking about negation, not antithesis.
what is the
We're talking about
antithesis?
negation of a proposition.
The negation. Wait, the negation.
You just defined it as the negation of a subject, not the negation of a proposition.
The negation of a proposition would be the antithesis of a proposition.
Then that's a blunder on your end because you
that's a blunder.
discreetly said that it's the negation of a subject, but a proposition is a subject and a predicate. No. Oh no.
You're not listening to what I said.
Are there blunders inside the mind of God? And
you didn't listen
not,
to what I
how do you
said.
reconcile the fact that you're blundering in the mind of God?
Yeah, Ian, you don't even understand the point. The point what I was trying to make is Dr. Blitz was saying that the antithesis of a thing wouldn't mean that you ought not to do that thing. When I was telling him
That's
if
not
you
what I
ought to
said.
do something, wait, hold on. I was telling him if you ought to do something, then you ought not to do the antithesis of that thing you ought to do. And Blitz was
No,
getting
that
stuck
doesn't
up on
follow.
that because he. Oh wait. So if you ought to not
That's strictly false. Like those are not logically equivalent.
Oh wait. Okay. Perfect. So if you ought not to grape babies, right? If you ought to protect babies, with the antithesis of that, are you ought not to do, or can you have both
I mean, that
oughts
doesn't
with
logically
direct
follow.
opposition?
It
Wait.
depending on
Can you have direct
depending on how you
oughts with?
construct morals. Depending on how you
Wait.
construct morals, it could follow with some
Can
additional
you
bridge
have a
axioms,
direct
but
ought?
it doesn't logically
Wait.
follow.
Wait. Can you have a direct ought that's diametrically opposed and be true at the same time?
You can have two diametrically opposed oughts, I suppose. Yeah.
Oh,
But to be
and
clear, the
and
two
they be
oughts
true
that
at
you're
the same
presenting,
time? Yes
the
or
two
no?
oughts that you're presenting are not diametrically opposed unless you have additional bridge axioms.
Wait, hold on. The antithesis in the affirmation of it would be diametrically opposed, dummy. What are you talking about?
The antithesis of protecting
Antithesis, not
babies is
antithesis.
not.
Antithesis.
You just said the same thing twice. You just said the same thing twice.
I said antithesis, not antithesis, or whatever you said. You said
The fuck?
antithesis.
Are you guys hearing him say the same thing twice?
Yeah, I'm hearing him say the same thing twice.
This
Antithesis.
is gotta be troll, right? Antithesis. I said antithesis, not antithesis.
That's what I was trying to tell you. It's antithesis
What
with an F. I mean, with a P. It's antithesis with a P.
Where's
the
the
P,
what the fuck? Where? Am I stupid?
Maybe we're both stupid.
Where the fuck is the P?
Are
You
you
guys
talking
not
about
know how to spell antithesis?
antiseptic?
Antithesis. Search it
Can you
up.
spell? Wait, spell it, please.
I have to go get the word.
With a
I could
P?
type it in chat. I could go get the word and type it in chat for you.
Please.
Okay, but this is the deflection from the point. But I'll do it.
Where the fuck is the P?
I don't know. Okay, he's saying antiphysis with the PHY. Never heard that word. Antithesis or antiphysis refers to the rejection or opposition of naturalism, representing an artificial, oblique, or anti-natural state. I imagine that that's not what he's saying, right?
Surely not.
Oh, I was
what you're
wrong. My bad. I was wrong. It's
That's
antithesis. You got it right. My bad, I was wrong. But
Okay, that's
that's
fine.
the side point.
So
Yeah,
sure,
aside
wait,
from
we
point.
can move past it. Okay, wait. So if you can't phi, where phi is just some action, do you think that implies that you have no ought to phi?
To fly? I don't know what you said.
Phi, like the Greek letter phi. That's how it's referred to in the moral literature.
Okay, repeat. Okay, what does that mean?
Yeah, if you can't phi, it's just some action, some generic action.
Suppose it's nomologically impossible to phi. Does it therefore follow that there is no ought to phi?
If it's nomologically impossible, yeah, there would still be a ought, even if it's nomologically possible.
Okay, wait. So
impossible.
why do you have no obligation? Like, why is there no ought on you to go stop the Holocaust?
Oh, that's logically impossible.
What?
What's the contradiction?
Yeah, everything is necessary, so nothing could have happened otherwise. So, me trying to
This
stop the
fucking
Holocaust
guy.
is impossible.
You literally.
This is such a good troll, though. Honestly, like, kudos to this guy. This is like a top tier quality troll.
This is incredible. Holy shit. Did you
Wait, hold on.
forget?
That was before you knew my position, though. So you didn't even know I was a necessitarian. Right?
Wait, so to be clear.
Hold on. Before you knew I was a necessitarian,
when you were
you said it
asking
was
me
a
for the logical
impossibility.
contradiction, you yourself. Oh, and to be. So you're saying that if something is a logical impossibility, that there's no ought for you to do it?
If something's logically impossible, is there an ought for you to do it?
Yeah.
That's a category error.
It's not a category error. It's a question.
Taking this action, taking the action phi, is a logical impossibility.
Then
Does
it's
it
not
follow
action.
from that?
It's not
that
action
you
if
have
it's
no-
logically impossible. You can't say action if it's logically impossible.
Wait, so for example, like drawing down a squared circle on my whiteboard wouldn't be an action?
It's impossible. No, that's not an action.
That wouldn't be an action? That certainly seems like what's
No.
your definition of an action?
An action is just an actualization of.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. So it seems like you're confused because this is a conditional statement. So if action phi is logically impossible, then there are no oughts for action phi.
I'm saying well, you can't apply action.
Do you think that conditional is true, false, true or false? Because it is a conditional, so it has a truth value.
Wait, okay, repeat the conditional.
If action phi is logically impossible, then there is no ought to commit action phi.
Wait, you can't. That's a big category area. You can't identify a subject with a logical possibility, especially you can't identify the actualization of a subject with a logical impossibility.
So you think that you think that the antecedent is false because there's a category error?
I think it's everything is a category error.
Well, if you think
everything
that the
that
antecedent is, I mean, certainly, Ian. What's the technical name for the thing that follows the then?
The consequent?
The antecedent. Yeah. So the consequent surely doesn't contain a category error. The consequent is merely there is no ought to commit action phi. There's no category error there.
I'm saying.
So you think that the antecedent? You think that the antecedent has a category error in it, which would make the antecedent false, just kind of trivially.
Repeat the antecedent.
Which would make the conditional true.
Yeah, there's no the antecedent is there's no ought to phi.
Okay, repeat.
No, that's the consequent.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah.
So the antecedent is if the action phi is logically impossible. That's the antecedent.
Oh, wait, I reject it right there. I reject it right there.
Right. So you think that the antecedent is false, which makes the conditional overall true.
No. Well, what I think is that.
Then you just don't understand how a conditional works, I guess.
This guy rejects the truth table.
No, you can't. You can't
A
apply
implies B. If A is false, then A implies B is true.
Wait, hold on. You can't. Number one, you can't imply the actualization of in any type of conditional if it's logically impossible because of that's
right.
That's a contradiction.
I'm glad you reject the antecedent.
Wait, hold on.
True.
That's not you didn't let me get the explanation of because the actualization of something, right, necessitates something being logically possible. So if you break that logical possibility, okay, then you can't even apply that because that would be a category error. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand.
Wait, so I'm sorry. Which of these? So is the antecedent impossible or is the consequent impossible?
If the consequent follows from the antecedent, both is impossible.
It's impossible for something to be logically impossible. Your position is self-defeating.
No, I'm saying
you just said that it's impossible for something to be logically impossible.
I didn't
you
say
said that both of them are false. You said you rejected both the antecedent and the consequent. It's all in recording. It's live streamed to YouTube.
Okay, show me.
You can't unsay the stupid shit that you said. It's all recorded.
Show me.
You want the recording?
Yes.
Justin, are you capable of showing the recording where he says
and before you show it, say the claim I was making.
Yeah, you said both the antecedent and the consequent are impossible.
Yeah, I should be able to do that.
Wait, I said if the consequence follows from the antecedent, then both would be impossible. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And to be clear, the antecedent is just something is logically impossible.
So no, the antecedent was more than that.
No, that was the antecedent. That if phi is logically impossible, then there's no ought to phi.
I'm saying it wouldn't follow. That's the claim.
How far back in the conversation
Horrible tracking failure. It's like genuinely like 2 minutes ago.
Okay.
Like a minute ago.
I'll grab it.
Actually, wait. It sounds like he agrees with it, so you probably don't need to even play it.
Okay.
I don't agree with that. I think both are false.
Oh.
So you think it's false that something could be logically impossible?
Wait, hold on. I think both are unintelligible.
Blitz, you're muted. You're muted, Blitz.
Damn it. Okay, so look, the antecedent is merely the proposition the action phi is logically impossible.
Okay, the antecedent. Wouldn't that be the consequent?
No, that's the antecedent.
Wait, is that not the conclusion you're deriving?
Ontologically confused. No. This guy is ontologically confused.
The antecedent is the action phi is logically impossible. Do you think that is a true, false, or neither proposition?
The action, it depends what action.
Okay, sure, but you don't think that there's a category error there, right? As far as propositions
You have to
go.
specify.
Totally
you're being very ambiguous. You have to specify.
Right, but it's not a category error to say for the the proposition could either be true or false if I say the action phi is logically impossible. That's not a category error. That's merely, I mean, like, unless phi is not a kind of thing that can be an action, of course.
With that alone, simpliciter. No, but
Yeah, okay.
when you combine it with
right,
when you combine it with the other intelligible statement you said, it is a category error.
Right. So we agree that the antecedent, the action phi is logically impossible, is not a category error. So the structure
no, I disagree.
The structure of the implication. Oh, but you did just agree that it's not a category error. Like,
no, I said simplicator. But
simplicator. So as a proposition, it's not a category error as a proposition, right? So now we're going to take.
It depends what you're referring to, though.
Yeah, sure.
What are you referring
to? Phi is just a variable here.
So what variable though?
It's any variable that's in the set of logically possible and logically impossible actions.
No, I disagree with that.
Which part? I'm just giving you a definition.
The logically impossible ones. I don't think logical impossibilities can be placed into a subject.
Into a subject?
So you wouldn't say, so for example, squared circles are logically impossible. You reject that squared circles are logically impossible?
No, square circles are logically impossible, but square circles is not an identifiable variable. That's what a subject is.
Yes,
it is. No, it's not.
Wait, is there a difference between a squared circle and like a rounded trapezoid?
If they're both a contradiction, no, they're both unintelligible.
The fuck? Okay. I don't intuit that at all. To say that there's no difference between like the squared circle and the Eiffel Tower being entirely red and not entirely red. I think that there's a difference between the Eiffel Tower painted entirely red and painted not entirely red and the squared circle. I just think that these things are different.
Is one like 10% more logical, or is like one like 20% more logical?
They're just different in another
They're just different things.
They're not things.
They are. They're non-existent things.
No.
But they're things. They're fictional things.
If they're non-existent things, they wouldn't be things.
Well, they're fictional things.
Then they're not even fictional things.
Of course they are.
No, no.
In virtue of what?
It's non-existence.
Are abstract things?
Wait, hold on. Do you think that do you think that the proposition a squared circle is logically impossible is a true proposition?
A square circle being logically impossible is a true proposition? Yeah.
Okay, so you just made it the subject in a proposition. You just made squared circle a subject in a proposition.
I'm saying all that proposition is just stating is a contradiction logically impossible. That's just an analytic truth.
Right, but you agree then that a squared circle can be the subject in a proposition.
A square circle just derives a contradiction. So all a contradiction is.
So look. Formally speaking, the proposition that I just offered you has a predicate, is logically impossible, and a subject, squared circle. And you just agreed that a squared circle, the proposition a squared circle is logically impossible, is a true proposition. Not only is it true, it's like a sensible proposition. And
so all you said
that's a tacit admission that squared circles can be subjects in propositions.
Wait, no. All you said was this. You just said if A is the case, then the antithesis of A is not the case. Okay.
No, I didn't say that at all. Keep deflecting, though. It makes you look definitely good. So we agree now that contradictions can be subjects. So I'm glad that we agree that subjects
surely quizzing Blitz on what an analytic truth is. Like, surely your philosophy reading must be pretty fucking shallow if that's the gotcha question is.
Wait, he doesn't know what
I'm glad that we can agree that propositions can contain subjects
and then when I describe to him the analytic truth, he says no.
Wait, hold on. Blitz doesn't know what analytic truth is, and he agreed what he said is
an analytic truth.
And
when I describe, that follows from the terms themselves.
Hold on. And when I described,
he just told you what it was.
He said no. Yeah. So Blitz, is an analytic truth not this? If A is the case, the antithesis of A is not the case.
You'd have to define what antithesis is. You'd have to define what antithesis is.
The opposite.
So when you say so formalize it. If the proposition A is true, then are you saying the negation of A is false? Because that does follow standard logic.
That's what an analytic truth is. If an apple is red,
I'm aware, but you said something very, very different. Anyway, instead of you deflecting,
that's not what I
said
different. If A is the case, then the antithesis of A is not the case.
So to be
No,
clear,
you could play back the clip. I never said
so to
nothing
be
different.
clear,
Play it back.
it sounds
Play
like
it back.
sounds like you now agree that that non-existent things like squared circles can be the subject of propositions. And this
I'm
is
saying
like
a
obviously
square
true.
I'm saying a
And
square
this is obviously
circle
true
isn't
because you agreed to
intelligible.
it. So because
I'm saying
well,
a
if
square
it's
circle isn't
intelligible, then you
intelligible.
if it's unintelligible, then you shouldn't have agreed to the proposition a squared circle is a logical impossibility.
I already explained it to you. A square circle is just gonna fall into a set, okay, of a contradiction.
Oh, sorry. It's in a set. It's an object in a set.
No, it's not an object. No.
Okay, so what kind of things are in sets?
He's not going to know
Sets.
the
What
answer
kind
to
of
that,
things are in
Blitz.
sets?
Yeah. What do you
Yeah, it's
call the
just
things in sets?
Set dwellers.
There's different names. Like I know, Berkeley.
The technical word is element. You have an element of a set.
No, no, you have derivatives.
What?
Yeah.
No! No!
Not within my semantics.
And then he said no!
Not within my semantics, because I don't know what that word means.
No, I'm Van Tillian, so I wouldn't use elements. Ian is just nervous laughing, but it's okay.
Nervous? I'm having the time of my life here.
Look, so you think that
okay.
Squared circles belong in a set, and you can quantify over that set, and therefore they can be treated as variables.
No, you can't quantify it. No, hell no, you can't.
Sure you can.
You
sure you can. You can quantify over all sets. You can quantify over all sets.
Can't.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can't.
Yeah, sure you can.
No,
Find me a set that you can't quantify over.
Yeah, it's simple. Let's just say we have a set of infinities, and each infinity is both infinite and finite. It would be impossible to quantify it.
You can still quantify over them. You can say for all x in that set, x, and then you can stipulate a predicate for x. You can definitely do that. You can quantify over every element.
Wait, just because you can stipulate a predicate for something doesn't mean you can quantify it. What the hell are you talking about?
Stipulating the predicate happens after you do the quantification, right? You say for all x in the set.
How can you measure something immeasurable?
That seems completely unrelated to the topic of conversation.
Wait. To quantify something is just to measure something.
So
how can you measure something immeasurable?
Do you use ZFC set theory or do you use something else?
I just use normal axiomatic set theory.
Like naive set theory?
Just normal.
His pronouns are normal.
Or maybe maybe you just use ZF.
It depends what you define ZF as.
You don't know what ZF is?
I don't know how you're defining it now.
So do you know like anything about first order logic?
Yeah, I know about.
Okay, so then you should be able to tell me what ZF is.
I don't know how you're defining ZF, but I could tell you about predicate
Zermelo-Frankel set theory. You don't know what Zermelo-Frankel set theory is?
That's not really that doesn't even dive into predicate calculus. You don't learn that in predicate calculus often. You don't.
Okay, so I guess you just don't know basic like first order logic then.
Yeah, he spends more of his time on BOFA set theory.
Indeed.
Wait, hold on.
Indeed
Basic first order logic. Wait, hold on. Basic first order logic. You learn about
like
the
ZF
syntax
set
and
theory
how
is like ZF set theory and piano arithmetic are like the two most common first order logics that you learn.
Wait, hold on. No. You didn't bring up piano. Wait. When you learn first order,
is another kind of first order logic.
Wait. Hold on. When you learn first order, what you first learn is how you can apply a syntax to a predicate and invoke a proposition and make it formal. That's what you learn.
Yeah, so these are the first examples that you learn when you're learning first order.
No, you
logic,
don't.
Right?
You don't even learn piano. No, you don't. You don't.
Oh wait,
you don't
so you don't even know basic set theory.
Basic set theory.
Yeah, that's what.
What do you define basic set theory to be?
ZF.
Can I ask you a question just for my own entertainment? I'm gonna draw two symbols.
Can I ask you a question?
I'm just curious if you can tell me what the difference is between these. Just in set theory, can you tell me what the top guy is and how it differs from the bottom guy?
Is the top a triangle? I can't.
No,
really
these
see.
these are set theory operators.
Let me turn my brightness up.
Like super basic ones.
Those aren't even ZF set theory operators. Interestingly enough.
Wait, can you put it up more? They look like the same shape to me.
Lift it up a little bit higher.
Do you recognize either? Could you tell me what either of them are?
I never. Can you maybe draw it more like clearer? Because what it looks like, it looks like It just looks like a symbol that changes the truth value of a proposition, right? But
It
it's
means
that
element
simple.
of. The one with the line under it means
No,
like.
that means subset. Ian, you're wrong. Element of is
Fuck,
the
no,
is the E with the line
I know
through the
what it
middle.
is. It's this one. It's this one. This is what element of is.
Yeah, there you go.
Subset versus strict subset. That's what it
Okay.
is.
But like, look, if you don't
it.
know basic ZF, if you don't know like even ZF set theory, which is the way that set theory is taught to like first year math students, it seems like you're not
I don't
equipped to have a
study math.
conversation about this kind of stuff.
Wait. Why do I need to learn about set theory to talk about predicate
Because
calculus?
because you're using languages like sets.
No.
You literally said the word set like 5 minutes ago.
This guy's
And
never
by
had
the way-
sets.
Wait. By the way, predicate calculus doesn't even go into sets. It just talks about if A is intrinsically
Yeah, I know. You brought it up.
identical
You
to
brought up
B.
sets though. You said
Wait,
that a
hold on.
squared circle
Predicate-
belongs to a kind of set, and then you stuttered, and because I called you out on it.
Wait, when I meant by that, I just mean it falls into the categorization of a contradiction.
Okay, can you define what a category is?
A category? It's just an identification of
Yeah.
a topic.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's not that. At least if you're
It is.
talking amongst mathematicians and philosophers of
I
logic.
really don't. No, this is how a philosopher would define it.
Yeah. So a category C consists of the following three mathematical objects: a class, which is written as ob-C, whose elements are called objects; a class hom-C, whose elements are morphisms or maps or arrows; and then a binary option called composition of morphisms.
Okay.
That's what a category is.
No, it's you didn't. You just gave me an example. You didn't give me a You didn't give me a
No,
definition.
that's not an example. It's a definition.
I gave you the formal definition.
Oh, no, you didn't. I gave you the
Yes,
formal
I did.
definition.
That's not the formal definition.
Gosh, who will I believe? Who's telling me the truth here?
You don't even have to
Is
believe
it,
me.
is
I'm
it
just reading the
esteemed
definition from
physicist
Wikipedia.
Dr. Blitz or TikTok lolcow? It's Emily/Samantha.
Bro, stop calling me that, bro.
Sorry,
Now you're being
M/Sam.
sexist. Okay.
It's sexist to be named Emily if you're a
Yeah,
dude.
I don't think you know what the term
No.
sexist means.
We should probably move on, though. I
Wait,
think that we
if
probably
Yeah.
milked enough content from this.
You're scared. It's
from this
okay.
lolcow,
You're
right?
scared.
Yeah,
You're scared to talk
I'm
about the
scared that I
existence
might
of
have a
God.
hernia if I keep on laughing at
You're
you.
scared to talk about the existence of God. It's okay. You're scared. You're scared.
Yeah,
You're
terrified.
scared for me to prove God.
With an
scared for me to
intellectual
prove
with an
God.
intellectual heavyweight like yourself, I'm quivering. A
You're
goddamn
scared
rhetorical
You're scared for me
juggernaut
to
like
prove
you.
God. It's okay. You're scared for me to prove
That's
God
what it
exists.
is.
It's
We're
okay.
terrified.
Yep, I'm super afraid of your God that is clearly abstractly defined and has nothing to do with heaven
Yep.
or hell.
Wait,
or
you're scared for me
sins
to
or
prove he
anything like that.
exists. That's why you haven't been wanting me to prove it. That's why.
Yep, definitely.
Oh.
That's what's happening here.
Now you don't exist on our panel. Thanks for coming by, though. Let's grab a couple super chats. We're going to get Matthew 123 in here
Maybe
next,
just bring up Matthew now.
I fucking love that guy.
rather than reading
Not
a couple
Matthew.
supers.
I love the last guy. That last guy
Yeah,
was
just
great.
because there's a risk that Matthew might leave.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
We'll grab this one, then we'll grab the guest. Salty, thank you for the $20 super chat, my friend. Says, late to the chat, but guest who was talking about babies deserving death because they're sinners reminds me of the first thing that made me question the faith as a preteen. I couldn't understand that even as a kid. It is a really interesting thing that in this religion, you do have to debate amongst yourself and others and whether or not God would actually send a baby to hell. Because it's not as clear cut as it should be.
Yeah, it really should be kind of obvious in the text, right?
I agree. Yep. But you have to kind of tease it out, which is not optimal if you're communicating as a god to your subjects. But we agree, Salty. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the super chat. Let's grab Matthew 123 from our YouTube queue. Oop, wrong button. Get him in the right scene. There we go. Scene number 2. Welcome in, Matthew. How you doing?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
can.
All right, cool. I've never done this before, so you'll have to forgive me if I'm a little off.
We forgive you in advance.
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
thank
no
you for
problem.
that.
So,
What is
Matthew,
like the format here?
Are you at least 18?
Yes, I am 32 years old.
Okay. And which god do you believe in?
So I
Oh, where'd he go?
No.
hello.
Try again, Matt. We lost you when you were talking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I believe in the God of the Bible.
Okay. What do you think is a good evidence or a good reason or a good argument to believe in this particular God?
So I think there's a couple categories of evidence, you'd say, or arguments, but I think that the existence of non-material realities like emotions and ambitions and grief, stuff like that, I think that that would point to the existence of a God outside of just time, space, and matter.
Interesting. Why would I think that those things are like immaterial as opposed to reducing to the brain? I mean, maybe like to get ahead of it, one reason that makes me think that those things probably reduce to the brain is that, you know, when somebody's brain chemicals gets messed up, their ambition gets messed up, their personality gets messed up. You know, like Phineas Gage when he got the pole driven through his skull. He was like a completely different person afterwards. You know, it just seems like these things are like super tied to the brain.
Yeah, so I think that there's definitely a cause and effect. I think that when we like read the brain and read that stuff happening, I mean, obviously there's those unique circumstances, like you said, the guy that got a personality change after the his brain had dramatic modifications, but that personality and emotions, I think, is different than like morality and ambitions. I think that those are two different kind of categories of brain activity, or I guess you not necessarily brain activity, but like two different categories of thinking or thought or like being essentially.
So if you want one that relates strictly to like ambition, I mean, people with depression often have their ambition quite hindered. So, and that's just like an imbalance of brain chemicals.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's probably a cause and effect. I think that when we see like the imbalance of brain chemicals, I think that that could be more or less an effect versus a cause. I think that there could something spiritual is happening that can be causing that imbalance. But regardless, I think that I don't know. It's not really. I'm not really compelled by the. There's chemicals going on in your brain, and that's the reason why you have thoughts, and that's the reason why you have feelings, and that's the reason why you fall in love and out of love. That's not very convincing to me,
Um,
especially when you only have like 3 or 4 cases of there being any type of like concrete relation, I should say.
well, it's definitely more than that, right? Like I would say like every instance of depression is a relation or is like an example of that. Every time somebody gets depressed, and then, you know, their ambition is all shot, or literally just when people undergo like certain injuries. But I mean, like you can find it like not compelling. I guess like I likewise don't find the explanation of this phenomena to be very compelling. But um, I don't know. I mean, what makes you think that it's immaterial?
What makes me believe that it's immaterial?
Yeah.
I think that where it originates from is from something that's outside of ourselves, and that it projects into reality. So I think that the reason why our desires and stuff like that is because we exist inside of our minds. Like our being, our reality mostly exists like inside of our mind, and that's not a physical space. And so
So,
because of that,
not to interrupt, but I don't know if this answers the question. So we already know what you believe, right? You don't have to
Yeah.
reiterate it. We're trying to figure out why you believe it, right? What
Mhm.
would be the reason that we would agree with you in this belief?
okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to articulate is that like day to day, I exist inside like the majority of your interaction like with your being is within your own thought, within your own mind, and this is happening not in a physical plane but in a different plane. You would say that it's happening on a physical plane, that it's just chemical reactions going on inside your brain. I would say that it's happening on a different plane above that, and so
Right,
I
but
would say that just
why? Why are you saying that?
Mhm.
because that's the reality of the situation.
No,
I mean,
how did you come to that conclusion?
Yeah, like what's the evidence that that's the reality of the situation?
okay. I would say the experience. I mean, so when you're having an emotion or a thought, you believe that that's coming from the chemical reactions inside your brain.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the chemical reactions inside your brain are the
Uh,
effect
Again,
not the cause.
we know what you believe already. You don't have to say it 5 different ways. We're asking, what's the evidence or the argument that would make your belief true?
Yeah.
Oh, so I guess it would just be experience. The way we experience thought and emotion is not something that like is directly, like we don't like go into our brain to experience that. Like we don't the way
Except
we
that we
enter
do?
into like the way like we enter into meditation, I would say maybe is non-physical.
I don't know why I would grant that.
I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, so I would say that's probably hard.
That's a reiteration of your claim that doesn't actually address the question, which is what would lead us to believe that that is true. It sounds like you've got like 5 different ways, 10 different ways of saying what you believe, but we want to know why you believe. What's the evidence?
Yeah. So my evidence is the experience that I like. So.
But that can't be evidence, because I would just say my experience leads me to believe that our emotions, thoughts, and feelings are derivative of the brain, right? So that certainly can't be a good argument.
Yeah. Okay. No. Fair enough. I can concede that for sure. I don't have the ability to articulate any better than within. I think within human experience. I think that kind of we're more. We exist on a higher level of being than just our physical bodies, and
I mean,
our lack of control over our physical bodies, I think, would be really good.
There's perhaps good counter evidence that like the kind of meditation that we do is still physical in nature. And the reason I say that is because you can look at like, I don't know if we can say this, but like ayahuasca, like these kinds of like meditation or I don't want to say meditation inducing, but these kinds of like illicit substances that are often used to like produce more sophisticated meditation experiences, things like this. Those are physical things that are just doing physical things to your brain. And so if there was no link between like your meditative experiences and your physical brain, then it just wouldn't seem like that you would expect some random plant to make your meditative experiences stronger.
I feel like the relationship between the meditative experience, the brain. So I believe obviously that there's a correlation. They're directly connected, and they're direct. But I'm just saying that the source of like the thoughts and stuff. I understand that I can't actually prove that because you can't prove spirit like using science. So I can't actually prove to you that like my ambitions are coming from my spirit and not coming from a chemical reaction in my brain. If that makes sense. So I mean, I think that on the point of like emotions being evidence for God, I think that because they have a spiritual foundation, not a scientific foundation, I think that having a scientific debate is difficult, even though you can maybe get into, maybe if someone was more knowledgeable on the subject than me, they have the ability to articulate it better.
Although, to be clear, like we're not looking just for like strictly scientific evidence. Like, I'm a big fan of philosophy. But even in philosophy, when they talk about things that are not scientific, they'll at least give like an argument for it. They'll give like some reason to think it. So it's fine if you don't have scientific evidence, but I don't know, something like that. But is there anything else that makes you think that God exists?
What's that?
Is there anything else that makes you think that God exists?
Wait, so the other two like kind of areas of like thought or whatever, one would be the existence of everything rather than nothing, but then I think the strongest one would be just the Bible and how it articulates reality more clearly than I think anything.
No, you don't
I bet Justin would love to talk to you about that.
Yeah, I think that
I don't think the Bible is good at articulating reality. Like it says that the earth is essentially a flat disc with a dome over top of it.
So there's a lot of different ways to interpret exactly what those verses are saying. I think that you have scholars in the Christian community that disagree. So I think that
I don't know many that do. So in the Hebrew Bible, it just explicitly says that there's a dome over the earth. Rakia in Hebrew is like a hammered out structure, which is why we find in the book of Job that he says it's hard like a cast metal mirror. This is what everybody in the ancient world believed. They believed that the earth was a flat disc and that there was a dome over top of it.
the dome and the sphere don't have to necessarily conflict. I feel like they're when
Oh,
the concept
no.
of the dome.
Sphere doesn't show up in the Hebrew Bible in relation to the earth. It shows up in Isaiah. Isaiah uses it to refer to a ball, but it's never used in reference to the earth.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as like biblical passages describing the physical shape of the earth, I think that there's probably very few of them, and that they're pretty open to
But
various
of the ones that
interpretations.
they are all pretty in line with the Earth being a disk with a dome over top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say that if like the term like disk could necessarily be something spherical as well as something
No,
circular.
a disk cannot be spherical.
Yeah, it's a 2D.
Yeah, no, I understand that in our grammatical like understanding and our interpretation, but I just feel like if they didn't have a different word to articulate sphere, then they could
did.
use the word
Dur in Hebrew refers to a ball or a sphere.
Okay.
But they didn't use that. There's other places where it shows up, but it doesn't show up in relation to the earth. In relation to the earth, it says it's a chug, which is a flat disk.
Yeah, so I'm not as familiar with like the Greek and stuff like that, but so when I am talking about like the Bible articulates reality better than anything else, I'm talking about like the fact that we are born into sin and that we need a savior for that sin.
What do we need a savior for?
Well, because it's just because we're essentially in my opinion, I feel like everyone is kind of enslaved to their sin, and so I feel like so you maybe not.
I mean, I don't even think sin exists. Like in the reality that I know, there's no such thing as sin. So to say that I'm a slave to sin or that the Bible articulates reality better because it talks about sin, I think is a non-starter for me.
Okay, but just because you don't believe in something doesn't mean that it exists or doesn't exist.
Your that would be your burden of proof, right? If you're saying that the Bible articulates reality and that reality is that we're sinners, you would have to find a way to first demonstrate that we actually are sinners before you could demonstrate that the Bible's reality is true.
Yeah, what's going on here is
that'd be
it's
really
like a circular argument.
Demonstrate that we say we have grief and regret when did that indicate that we've committed wrongdoing?
No, not necessarily.
That's an indication of empathy.
Well, yeah, or it could be just an indication of like things that have no moral value. But, you know, for example, I might regret making one decision because I thought that that was best for me when actually a different decision may have been best for me. But they had no moral weight. Like maybe one was moving to Europe and the other one was staying in the United States. There's not really moral weight there. It's just a decision that perhaps it ended up worse than I thought or whatever it might be.
But you have violated your own moral conscience before, haven't you?
Yeah, but we just...
I don't know. Maybe.
So I'm sure everybody has, but what I had already told you is that that's a function of our biology. It's empathy. It's our ability to reason, and then our ability to follow through with that reasoning is all part of our biological makeup. It doesn't have anything to do with God existing.
Yeah, so I mean, you can say that, but it doesn't make it true. So my evidence for the fact that sin
it's true by default. Until you can demonstrate that your God is the result or the cause of all this, then it's just true by default.
Unless I can prove it, like, well, so I'm just proving that it exists. I'm not saying that my God necessarily is the source of it. I'm just saying that it exists. The reality of.
But you haven't proven it. You've just stated it.
Well, so it's cause and effect. We know that it exists because of the effect that it has.
We know that what exists? The fact that we can feel guilty about our behavior?
Yeah, well, the fact that violations we can.
But that has nothing to do with an immaterial reality or God existing. Again, that's something that almost all animals do. We evolved to have these traits.
I might add into this that this seems like an extraordinarily subjective part of our experience. That, for example, if you read the works of people like Plato and Aristotle, they were giving like full-throated defenses of slavery. They were saying like slavery is like it's like rational, it's logical, like everybody should be doing it. Um, like presumably we all agree that that's bad, but they were still giving like total defenses of it. And they didn't feel bad about that. That's like the society that they were raised in. And they ended up like believing in that.
Yeah, so
So it
I
seems
think
like you
that
only feel bad about things if you personally think that it's wrong. But then that seems like extremely evolutionarily explainable, that there would be sorts of like social policing mechanisms that would evolve for social creatures like us.
well, I feel like the evolution is kind of just like saying evolution and saying God is kind of like the same thing. Well, it's like, well, we evolved it, and so therefore it exists. You know, like
Except we have proof that evolution happened, or at least very compelling evidence anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super compelled by what type of evolution are you saying? Astronomical evolution, like the evolution of something from nothing?
The only kind of evolution that's called evolution by scientists.
Okay, well, there's different fields of science and lots of science. You know,
So if we're talking about evolution, evolution's simpliciter, that means biological.
Okay, yeah. So you're saying the fact that all animals evolved from a single organism?
No, I mean, that's not even necessarily implied by evolution. It turns out to be true, but that's not even implied by evolution. Evolution is merely the change in phenotype over time in a population.
Well, see, here's the thing, though. You guys claim that there's change over time, but don't we have living fossils that haven't changed in hundreds of millions of years?
Living fossils?
Yeah,
it's a term, like things like coelacanths.
Why you talk about me like that?
Must be change.
That's not nice.
Evolution doesn't say that there must be change over time, merely that there is.
Well, no. So the process of evolution would insist that there must be change, though, because the genetic makeup is changing, though.
That only follows if the genetic makeup is changing, but it doesn't have to change. The things that we call living fossils are just things that just didn't change very much because their environmental pressures didn't change significantly.
Yeah, no. So yeah, they didn't change very much, but that's not possible according to evolution, because evolution.
It absolutely is possible. If the environment doesn't change and if the evolutionary niche that they fit into doesn't change, then they're not going to change.
But the genetic mutation that drives evolution is still happening.
Yeah, but look, so if you have an organism that already fits well into its evolutionary niche, then the probability of what mutations are good for is that they can cause dramatic changes, which when the evolutionary niche changes or when the environment changes, you can have dramatic changes in survivability for different traits. And so those mutations can cause new traits to develop and old traits to fall away to better fit into the new environment. However, if the environment never changes, then there are no new traits that will make them better fit for the environment because they're already fit for the environment. And so those new mutations just wouldn't confer any survival benefit.
Yeah, but so I mean, over a period though. So I mean, the process of evolution now is every time that the creature reproduces, right? There's a cellular change, correct? And so every time you're reproducing, there's going to be a cellular.
There's a cellular change. I mean, like, look. So what is the case is if you have sexual reproduction, then you have a new combination of DNA. But that doesn't mean that you have like new mutations. It doesn't mean that you have like new copies of genes or something like this.
You have different though. It's different than the original. Every single time
so look,
those are micro-mutations.
Well, they're not necessarily mutations, right? It's just recombination. Recombination is not necessarily the same thing as mutation.
Okay, but you're changing the code every time the animal reproduces.
So
look, after so many reproductions,
things like coelacanths, which are things like coelacanths, which are what are often referred to as living fossils. The coelacanths that are alive today are not the same as the coelacanths that were alive 100 million years ago. They're different organisms. They have different DNA. They're just the same species because they haven't morphologically or significantly changed since then.
You're saying that you've seen the DNA from the 100-million-year-old species?
No, my point is they're called living fossils because we have fossils of the same species.
But you're saying that there's a change in their DNA.
The DNA between myself and my parents are different because of different organisms. So the DNA of the coelacanths that are alive today is of course going to be different from the DNA of the coelacanths that were alive 100 million years ago. But that doesn't mean that they're not the same species.
But through 100 million years of genetic mutation, there's no way for that code to be so similar.
Only if those genetic mutations could have led to an evolutionary benefit. But if they're already well adapted for their environment, there are no evolutionary benefits that they could come across that are at least easily accessible via mutation.
Yeah, but I mean, eventually it's going to have to run into some type of change over time. That's the whole premise.
Well, look, so of course change over time happens. The question is whether there's change in phenotype over time. Like humans have changed. Like the humans alive today are all different from every single human that was alive 5,000 years ago. That doesn't mean that humans have evolved. It doesn't mean that we're a different species. It just means that we have different genetic code.
That's what evolving is.
That's not what evolving is. Having a different genetic code is not evolution.
So
evolution is the change in phenotype over time in a population.
Okay, so the change over time, that's exactly what.
It's change in phenotype over time.
Okay, phenotype over time. Okay,
right. It's not just like random changes in your DNA. They're different things.
Yeah, but the DNA is the foundation that makes the change in the phenotype, right? Like everything.
Sure.
Back
so
to
not
DNA.
so some changes in DNA.
Genetic mutation
right.
In DNA,
some
right?
changes in DNA can result in a change in phenotype. Not all changes in DNA result in a change in phenotype.
Can you have a change of phenotype without a change in DNA?
I suspect not, although maybe epigenetics could come along and do that.
Okay, so the genetic mutations in DNA is the foundation for the change over time.
Well, that and there's horizontal gene transfer. There's other ways to get change in phenotype, but mutation is a common one.
Yeah, naturally. Let's say naturally.
Well, I mean, there are other natural ways of producing change in phenotype. It's just DNA is a common one.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm not too versed on like the scientific terminology here. I'm just very, very elementary in my understanding the basic building blocks, not the deep dive into things. But
the point is that all phenotypes come from, let's say, barring those that come from epigenetics, all phenotype changes are a result of genetic changes. Not all genetic changes result in phenotype changes.
Yes, no. So I understand that. So sometimes you can have
100 million years of phenotypic you could have 100 million years of genotype changes in, say, coelacanths without having any significant phenotype changes, which would lead to them being the same species.
Yeah, so I would say that would be either statistically impossible or just couldn't happen.
Not if they're already well adapted to their environment and their environment isn't changing significantly.
Okay, so but your claims are that they're already well adapted, and you're saying that they couldn't get any better in 100 million years. They couldn't have adapted.
If they're already well adapted, look. So the whole thing about evolution is that it uses a process that's similar to something called gradient descent, meaning that it finds the local optimum. Now it could be that there is like some other more well-suited arrangement of limbs and organs on the organism, but that would require so many jumps simultaneously that it can't get there. And so it could be that there is a more well-optimized arrangement, but it's just impossible to get there via natural processes.
Yeah, like for example, like maybe
you'll stay stuck at the local minimum. Go ahead.
Maybe like the optimal like coelacanth, or what the fuck is it called? Coelacanth. It has like Einstein level IQ and like a rhinoceros penis with like big hulky arms, but it's like too many things, and each individual step to get there doesn't add like substantially to the survival of the creature. Therefore, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, so my whole premise though is like if you rewind how evolution works back to the fundamental, what is evolution? Well, it starts with the genetic change, right? That genetic change is genetic mutation. It happens randomly, and those random changes over time.
No, they don't necessarily accumulate, right? Well, most genetic changes are lost in a generation.
So you're saying that there's a copy and then it changes and it goes back the next time it goes back to the original?
Yeah, because most like if you're already like locally optimized, then most genetic mutations are either going to have no effect, in which case they're not the kind of thing that cause phenotype changes anyway, or if they do have a phenotype change, then it will just cause a detrimental effect and the thing will die.
Okay, but so what you're saying is different than what I'm saying. You're saying let's take the word the, and I changed the letter B from T to B. Over one generation that changes from T to B.
Yeah, and then
hypothetically has no effect.
Bh will die out because it no longer forms a word, and then all of the other thes will continue on.
Yeah, but okay, no. So I understand, but you're saying, or let's say that add an E then. Let's say that the adds an E and it's still the, or it adds an H and it doesn't affect the word. You're
but it would affect the word. Now it's the H.
Okay, but yeah, so that is evolution essentially. But So
evolution happens on a population basis, not on an individual basis. So what can absolutely happen is you can have like a single member of a coelacanth species. It can reproduce, and during the reproductive process, one of the coelacanths that it gives, I don't know, do they lay eggs that it lays eggs to? One of those coelacanths might have a new mutation, and that mutation, it'll either do nothing, in which case it can just this is where genetic drift comes in, or it will have some sort of detrimental negative effect, in which case that organism will probably die. Okay, and so the organisms without that mutation will continue on, and the organism with that mutation won't.
Yeah. So here's what I'm getting at, though.
So the mutation won't accumulate in the population.
But it's hard to articulate, because I feel like what you're saying is there's a mutation, and then the next generation the mutation goes back to the original, like it reverts.
Yeah, if the mutation caused the organism that had the mutation to not be able to reproduce, then that mutation would not be present in the next generation.
I'm not saying the one that wasn't reproduced. I'm saying the one that does reproduce. I'm saying as they do reproduce.
Okay, well, so if the mutation is such that it causes it, it's such that it doesn't have any negative effects, it doesn't have any positive effects, it's just a mutation, then what you're describing is something called genetic drift, and genetic drift does happen.
So it carries through. So it carries through from generation to generation.
It can. This is called genetic drift. That's a thing that can happen.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is over 100 million years of genetic drift, that's going to change the outcome of the species. That's the reason.
No, the whole point is that you can have mutations that aren't going to affect the phenotypical displays.
So that it's true. So
even over 100 million years, not all gene changes are going to have significant effects.
True. You'll end up with the same species. Not all of them would, but some even small ones could. And so what I'm saying is,
if they did, and the species was already well adapted to it,
are going to bump into other genetic things.
Look, if they did, and they were already well adapted to their environment, then any results of genetic drift would have negative detrimental effects, and those mutations would die out inevitably.
Yeah, but so
if the organism is already well adapted to its environment.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that these genetic drifts are going to add up and build up over time, right?
Right, and so that's true. Genetic drift is a thing that happens.
Yes, exactly. So over 100 million years of genetic drift, there's going to be that genetic drift is going to overlay into changes in how the species looks and functions.
No, not necessarily.
But
look. So there are two kinds of.
So here's the thing.
Okay. You're a little confused. You're a little confused. There are two kinds of genetic drift that you can have here. You can have genetic drift that leads to phenotypical changes, or you can have genetic drift that doesn't lead to phenotypical changes.
Okay, I understand.
The ones that don't lead to phenotypical changes, those are going to have no effect, and the species will be the same. Okay, those that do lead to phenotypical changes, if they lead to phenotypical changes and the organism is already well adapted to its environment, then those phenotypical changes won't be able to make it more well adapted, and so it will end up less well adapted, and those organisms that had that component of the genetic drift that led them to be less well adapted will die out. They will be outcompeted by the ones that don't have that component of the genetic drift.
Yeah, no. So I understand they're going to go separately over. So let's say that for first generation, it's genetic drift has no effect. Second generation, genetic drift no effect. Third generation, fourth generation, fifth generation. But the 12th generation.
Genetic drift is it? By the way, genetic drift does not exist everywhere across an entire species. Genetic drift just increases diversification of that species, right?
Well, yeah, I know. I mean,
so you will end up like when humans have genetic drift. When humans have genetic drift, for example, like things like eye color change, like this actually does present in phenotypical differences. They're just not very large. So like we could talk about eye color change. That's not going to have that's actually perhaps a bad example because eye color change does confer reproductive success. But we can talk about say like we can talk about like pinky toenail length, right? There's some it seems to be the case that pinky toenails are disappearing. Now that doesn't really confer any genetic advantage these days, and so this would just be an example of genetic drift, I suppose. And so that's not going to confer any like survival advantage one way or the other. So you'll just end up with part of the population that has pinky toenails and part of the population that doesn't. And so if it's the case that not having a pinky toenail, was the kind of thing that made you less likely to survive, then that phenotype change will die out. Right, so if you're talking about a segment of the population,
natural selection versus
right, but that's not speciation because the original species, the one that had the pinky toenails, continues to survive.
Yes. Okay. So I understand what you're saying, but eventually though, the genetic makeup is. I feel like we're just getting up in circles here because we're just going back to the foundational. The principle is, so we have a genetic code, right? It's like 3 billion characters, and every generation, 2 or 3 of those characters change. And so what I'm saying is, over long periods of time.
Except it's not in the whole population, right?
Yeah, over each individual though, but each individual, the population.
Not every individual will have those changes, and so
yeah.
if eventually
but
some individuals have the changes that lead to a phenotypical change that reduce survivability, then those individuals will die out.
Yeah, that's natural selection. I'm talking about just genetic mutation.
Yeah. I'm talking about genetic mutation. Look, what I get maybe the disagreement here is that if you have genetic mutation that leads to a genuine phenotypical difference that confers either survival advantage or disadvantage, then if that's happening in a population that has already locally optimized its survivability for the environment that it lives in, then those genetic drifts will either have no effect, in which case there will be no, it'll just be a diversification of species, like the species will just become more diverse, but it's still the same species, or that they will have detrimental effects, and that part of the species will die out, and you'll just be left with the original species again.
Yeah, so I understand how that works. I understand what you're telling me. I'm just going back to, over so long a period of time, the original, the host one, the preferred one that didn't die out because its characteristics were better. Eventually, its genetic blueprint is going to change. The genetic blueprint has to change over time.
It can change in insignificant ways. It can change in ways that don't affect its survivability.
Change though.
Every single it could change in a way that doesn't affect its survivability. But that doesn't. But if it doesn't affect its survivability and it doesn't affect its phenotype, then it's the same species.
But it's going to change though. The genetic code changes, and once it changes enough, that's
yes. The genetic code changes across every generation. That doesn't mean it's a different organism. That doesn't mean it's a different organism. I'm still. Look, humans from 50,000 years ago were just as human as I am today.
Okay, would you say that humans in 1 million years are going to look the same as humans do today?
If they do, then they will be humans. If they don't, then they won't be humans.
No, but in your view of science and the way evolution works, are humans going to look the same in 10 million years as they look today?
I don't think that humans are going to undergo significant natural evolution. So okay, I think it's probably a faulty question. But like, supposing that humans were still susceptible to like natural selection pressures, then it's very plausible that humans would speciate, and you would have branching from modern humans to, multiple different species of humans.
Yeah. Okay. So, but eventually, though, eventually, 10 million years from now, there's not going to be a single human.
If the environment changes,
that looks identical.
If the environment doesn't change, then you expect nothing will change evolutionarily, except perhaps genetic drift. But genetic drift doesn't result in speciation events. At least it doesn't typically when the environment's unchanging.
So you say doesn't typically? So you have to qualify?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that there's counterexamples, but like, this is just it's not something that has to happen. It doesn't have to be the case just because you have genetic drift that you get species.
I feel like we're just going to talk in circles, and I kind of have to go. I do appreciate you guys having me on. I'll try to do more research, and maybe do you guys do these often or?
Yeah,
once a week.
Yep, every Sunday.
Okay, so perfect. Sunday, that works. All right. So my general premise is that there's genetic mutation that's affecting the genetic code. That genetic code affects the way we look and the way we, that the genetic code is us, and all species have genetic code. And so what I'm saying is, over time, those genetic mutations are going to create changes in the genetic code that create physical changes. That's why we have evolution. That's why you guys believe in evolution.
I have no idea what point you're trying to make, Matthew.
But so what I'm saying is that there's dozens of
everyone here agrees that when our genetic
change.
Code changes, we are going to look different.
Yeah, but so we have plants.
What does this have to do with the actual topic? I'm entirely lost.
Well, so we got more into evolution versus just the existence of God, but it comes down to that there is
no. I don't even in relation to evolution. I don't even know what point you're trying to prove at this. What are you trying to prove with this line of argumentation?
That there's no change over time. We're not actually seeing.
There is change over time.
He's trying to prove that evolution is fake.
That's insane. If you think there's no change over time. Like even fucking bananas change over time.
The change over time.
Have you never seen how we cultivated bananas?
The change over time doesn't get us from a fish to a land mammal.
There you go. You wanted to have the argument of about macro versus micro evolution. That's what you wanted to do.
Yes. Well,
Well, that's what you should have done. You didn't
proof
do that. You wasted a bunch of time without actually articulating your position.
Well, so because it goes back to the foundation that it comes down to the fact that our genetic code is changing. Because our genetic code is changing, the physical nature of us has to be changing as well. And if the physical nature of us is not changing, then
it is. It's always changing. There's never a moment where evolution isn't happening.
Yeah, exactly my point. But then we have all these animals and plants that you claim are hundreds of millions of years old, but don't have any change over time.
No, they do have change over time.
They do have changes. That's what genetic drift gets you. But it just doesn't mean that they're like a brand new kind of organism, right?
So a lobster from 400 million years ago is different than a lobster.
It'd be a different species, almost surely.
Yeah. So as it turns out, there's a couple reasons why some organisms change more or less. Like the two main things is typically whether or not your DNA is more susceptible to copying.
Yeah, that's true too.
So there are some organisms where when they breed and as they're being alive, their DNA is super susceptible or super unsusceptible to copying errors and also degradation, which means they're less likely to have evolutionary traits that come about via change. The other thing is how quickly they reproduce. Animals that reproduce very rapidly are more likely to evolve more rapidly. But
so you're saying
even
like a mosquito
but even
if
they don't, that's irrelevant. So evolution is on a spectrum. Like everything that's alive right now is evolving at a very different pace.
I got to take off. I got to go. I got somewhere to be. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so by the way, apparently there's actually a technical definition for what a living fossil is. A living fossil is it's a living organism that closely resembles a much older organism phenotypically. Although I guess that this is like an old word, that like an old language that's not typically used in like the literature anymore. So I'll just read the intro here. So a living fossil is a term for an extant taxon that phenotypically resembles related species known only from the fossil record, though scientifically the term is deprecated and avoided. To be considered a living fossil, the fossil species must be old relative to the time of origin of the extant clade. Living fossils commonly are of species poor lineages, but they need not be, meaning that like there's just not a lot of speciation happening in that lineage. And then we have that while the body plan of a living fossil remains superficially similar, it is never the same species as the remote relatives it resembles because genetic drift would inevitably change its chromosomal structure. And funnily enough, the third paragraph in the Wikipedia article says, the minimal superficial changes to living fossils are mistakenly declared as an absence of evolution, but they are examples of stabilizing selection, which is an evolutionary process, and perhaps the dominant process of morphological evolution. So he was just doing the thing that the third paragraph in the Wikipedia article for living fossils says not to do.
Fair enough.
Which is just kind of funny.
All right, friends, we're going to grab just a couple super chats and we're going to get our last guest in here, Covert Corvus Corax, the mouthful. Misinterpretations, good to see you. Thank you for the super chat. It says, I looked up historical grammatical hermeneutic on JSTOR, found one reference in a PhD dissertation. It did not say hermeneutic, just exegetical approach. Agreed, yeah. So the exegetical approaches and hermeneutics is kind of like two sides of the same coin. But yeah, so the grammatical method is an approach where you're like relying on the grammar to supply part of the context. So when you have present tense verbs, then you're saying I'm letting the grammar lead my interpretation, which means this must be about the present tense. It's just a grammar-centric approach. The historical method is easy. It's just applying context to the passage. Like I know what was happening in this time period, therefore I can apply that context to the passage. Now you can mash the two of them up. You can say I'm using the historical method and I'm also using the grammatical method, which would lead me to possibly a new method, like the historical grammatical approach. But the reality is they're independent hermeneutical methods. You don't actually have to combine them, although I'm sure many people have. But the reality is hermeneutical approaches are a lot like philosophy arguments. Like there's so many of them and there's so many different types of them, and sometimes they get mashed together that any combination of any hermeneutical approach will eventually pop up. You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, because you can mash quite a few of them together. Prince says, I haven't laughed so hard at a guest in ages. Please take $20 as a payment. Thank you for the $20. Really appreciate it. I wouldn't use the word element for sets because I'm Van Tillian. Amazing.
True. That's the fact that it's called an element. Well, that's just your presupposition. Go ahead and defend it, liberal.
Indeed. And it says, funniest caller of all time. Well, we're glad, Karen, that you appreciated the call. And Flanker, good to see you this morning. Appreciate the $20 super chat. Says, in an ignorant world, religion seems rational and justified. In 2026, we know that these things work and are less ignorant now. These beliefs now contort and make square pegs fit in round holes to make it work. It's painful. It's true. Like if we're just going with like the basic facts on the ground right now, every time we learn new facts, we have to change the religion. Like we will never change our reality based on the religion. It always happens the opposite method. All right, we got more super chats, but I'm going to read them after this last guest, so we get a good conversation going in here, and then we'll circle back on the supers. Welcome in, Covert. Covert.
Sorry, I'm at my accident.
Oh, no worries. All right, cheers. All right, let's grab. We've got a guest that I don't know if has been on Unapologetic before, but he's a friend of mine. He's been on my channel. In fact, we did a video together not that long ago. Let me grab Metaphysics Mike. Welcome in, Mike. Oh, Mike, I think you're muted. I think your mic's muted.
You're not muted, Mike. They're just dodging you.
Let me double check your audio settings. Make sure it's got the right microphone selected.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep. Yes, we can.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for having me in. How you guys doing?
Not too bad. How you doing, Mike?
Doing all right.
Good. Yeah, long time no talk, Blitz. Hope all's well.
Likewise.
Yeah. So, all right. I wanted to make an argument to you guys from DNA. Get your thoughts on it.
Sure.
Okay. So essentially, I think DNA is a good evidence for God. And so the way that I would flesh this out is I would say, really give a parallel to the English language. So for every sequence of 12 letters in the English language that does convey a meaning, there are like 100 trillion other possible ways of arranging those same characters that don't. And this is the same when it comes to like the DNA protein. So even if you want to take like a small modest protein, like 100, 150 amino acids, for every sequence that produces something functional, there's going to be like 10 to the 70th power of other possibilities that don't. And so what this means to me is that there's just a huge search space that has to be searched by the random mutation mechanism to try and find these functional sequences, right? And all the vast array of possibilities. So I think if you like run the math, even assuming 4 billion years of history of life on planet Earth, I don't think that you even have enough. And you're going to essentially end with like every time an organism replicates, from the beginning till now, there's just not enough time to search that to find the functional combinations that produce obviously like a working organism and offspring. So to me, that just becomes way less likely, right? Or maybe let me flip that. So it would be more likely that such a search would fail, right? Than that it would succeed. Right, you have so many possible combinations. It's more likely to think that it was intentionally done. And that's essentially the argument.
The disrespectful soundboard is egregious.
That wasn't actually me. That was something TikTok did when that guest sent or when one of our members sent a gift. I've never.
Okay.
I've never heard that one before.
What are you doing?
No, we're not doing an EDM party.
Sure.
So I hope maybe I didn't do the best job explaining that. I hope you understand, just in my mind, like the Neo-Darwin mechanism is just less plausible for generating new functional biological information than just thinking that it was intentionally structured. like by a god or something.
This sounds like it's more of an argument against abiogenesis than it is an argument about evolution. Is that correct? Because clearly we agree that once there are proteins, then it's easy to see how they can adapt via slow changes, right?
So I would say it's really in both.
But I mean, like, once you have an evolutionary process going, once you have life, right, once you have proteins that exist, it seems like the mechanisms for changes occurring they're not random anymore, right? Like we know exactly how they happen.
Yeah.
And they're not random. Like, it's not just pulling new proteins from a bag.
So there might be like very specific like sequences that are like getting arrived at. But the searchers for those sequences are only the functional ones. The only things that pass down, I guess for the sake of simplicity, like the majority of things that like the majority of genes that get passed down are going to be the functional genes. And then,
or the irrelevant ones.
Yeah. So then for any given generation, the things that are searching for the next step, it's going to be the functional ones.
So they're in the process, as I understand it, there's like a lot of different things that could be going on in terms of mutations or natural selection, turning certain genes on or off. I guess in my mind, the point I'm trying to make is that in the story of getting us, here we are, there has to be times where this mutation mechanism does produce new genetic information. You agree with that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So then
Can I ask
you would
a
also,
question though?
Yeah.
What do we mean by new?
So let's say an organism that doesn't have a nervous system to one that does, something like that. But right, I'm not talking about the difference of, hair color or beak sizes.
That's not genetic information, right? That's like a phenotype change.
So
if we're looking for something more granular, like an example of would humans have what, like 3 copies of a specific like mutation preventing gene. So it's like a kind of like a checking gene that makes sure that there's no mutations or whatever. Mm-hmm. Would getting an extra copy of that gene, would that count as new information to you?
Yes, I think you would have to say yes because it wasn't there, and then now it is.
That's pretty easy then. There's like if you just have a transcription error where you just copy the gene twice, which I guess is a thing that it's a type of mutation that I can't remember the name of. I want to say it's reduplication, but I always get it wrong. But there's a type of genetic mutation where you just get an extra copy of a gene.
Yeah.
That's a thing that we know happens.
Yeah. I would totally agree. I think that duplicating existing genetic information is not the same as getting
It's
information
called gene duplication, obviously.
Yeah. So if you're duplicating a gene, then the gene already exists, right? So
you agree that is new information, right?
Yeah. So we get. Why wouldn't you, right? It wasn't there, and now
sure.
It is. I guess the argument I'm coming from is more, how did you get that to begin with? And again, this is based off of probability. So would you agree that the functional sequences of DNA or amino acids are massively outnumbered by the non-functional ones? Just like my example of English letters, right? If you take any 12 letters from the English language, you can combine those and get far more sentences that make no sense than ones that do.
Yeah, so the reason I bring up gene duplication is because gene duplication is a really easy way to see how you can have, once you already have some sequence of genes, it's a really easy way to see how you can get genuinely new phenomena happening. Because imagine that you have a gene that, maybe this gene processes vitamin B or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a biologist. And then you get a duplicate of that gene. Well, it's not going to hurt you at all, so you'll just keep it along. And if later down the line, now all of your descendants, they have 2 copies of this gene that processes vitamin B, that gene that one of the copies of that gene changes slightly. Well, that doesn't affect your ability to process vitamin B, but now you might have some new feature, right? And so this is a way how you can develop new features without compromising old things or just risking completely dying off. Yeah. So it seems like the question really is where do those first genes come from, right?
Yes.
Which is why I was saying it seems like it's more about abiogenesis than it is about evolution.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. So, I mean, if we can sort of agree that if we are going to say it's duplicating existing genetic information, how would you explain its origination in general?
Yeah, I mean, well, so to be clear, like duplication and then mutation is like one mechanism of how you could get new phenomena. But the question of how you actually get the original genes to begin with, I mean, I think that's an open question amongst like chemists. But the goal isn't that you don't need genes from nothing. You need genes from perhaps something that predates genes, like perhaps proteins that, then eventually gave rise to genetic codes that produce those proteins. Or alternatively, you could start with pure RNA that doesn't produce proteins and just reproduces on its own, or perhaps you could have something even simpler than either of those.
So, how would you explain something of even just 100, 150 amino acids long, right? That has to be perfect genetically in order to produce a functioning offspring. How would you explain where that comes from?
What I would say is that you probably don't need something that long to be minimally self-replicating, and once you have self-replication, then it's easy to get some mechanism that induces change over time.
So, again, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that. I'm talking about the probabilities of how you even get the initial genetic information. Because again, if we agree that there's like this vast search space,
the claim here is that the initial genetic information wasn't a protein that was 150 letters long.
Okay, so then it would just be...
It was some simpler organism. I mean, like, and the reason I bring this up is because, like, there are papers that come out all the time. But, like, there was a paper that came out 6 years ago, which describes the spontaneous emergence of some kind of self-replicating molecule that contains nucleobases and amino acids. But it's not a protein. It's not RNA. It's something that's a little bit more rudimentary. But it is self-replicating. It is self-assembling.
What is it? And where do we see that currently still taking place?
I mean, I don't know if it's a thing that people like go out and look for it in like the goop in, I don't know, wherever there's goop. This is like a proposed, I don't even know if this is like a thing that's been confirmed in nature, but this is like a proposed mechanism that's chemically valid and I guess is favorable and can happen. I guess it's called, I actually don't even know if it has a name. So it falls under the hypothesis of RNA peptide coevolution, if that means anything. This is to say that this is like a much simpler process, that it's much closer to chemistry than it is biology, where you just have like certain chemicals that I guess the term is autocatalyze, like they catalyze the production of more of themselves. But that's all we really need in order to get selection effects to start to take over.
So in my mind, this is a random process though. It seems like what you were saying is sort of assuming that it is still guided in some sense. Could you maybe expound on that more? To what degree is what you're describing something random, right? Searching all the available combinations of these amino acids versus being directed, and if so, by what exactly?
Well, so look, again, not a biologist, not a chemist. My understanding is that you can have like there are chemicals. We agree that there are chemicals. These are just like normal chemicals, nothing special, that undergo this process called autocatalysis. When they're in a bath of a particular, source material, they will just produce more of themselves. Just like not like, I should say more of itself, because it's not like a living thing. It's just like it's the nature of like the way the chemical reactions happen.
It's a chemical. I'm following you.
Yeah, and like there's like a autocatalytic or autocatalysis. It has like a whole Wikipedia page. It's pretty long and it gives a whole bunch of examples. I guess a good example would be hydrolysis of esters. So apparently, acid catalyzed hydrolysis of esters produces carboxylic acids that also catalyze the same reaction. So like this is just a thing that can happen. And so that is in essence reproduction, right? It's like weird chemical reproduction. It's not like there's no metabolic processes or anything. It's just like a chemical reaction. But that's the kind of thing that can have a selection effect. Namely that if you have two autocatalytic reactions that are happening and one is faster than the other, then the one that's faster than the other will win, right? It'll win out and take over. And so you can have these selection effects even with very, very simple stuff. So you don't need 150
Yeah, sure. Amino
nucleobased
acids.
chains of
Yeah.
amino acids in order to start this process of selection.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, I mean, I'm not, a full expert on this either, but I would probably just grant that chemistry alone could make simple organic building blocks under some conditions. I could concede that it can produce repeating patterns, right? We mentioned that, like replication, or even what you mentioned, like short polymers. I would be okay with just granting that, but what I wouldn't automatically grant is that it could give you a highly specific sequence that folds into this stable structure that will actually perform new functions. Okay, like I said, going from not even having a nervous system to having it, let alone some type of mapping system that connects them to each other. So to me, the issue is, again, still what combinations are beneficial. It's a very tiny number. And so how do you get them? Just pointing out small building blocks, short polymers, replication, that's not going to get you to the bigger picture where I'm invoking God, where I'm saying the best explanation is this wasn't done randomly, right?
Well,
that's the point. Like,
I'm not sure, and sorry to interrupt, I'm not sure we're saying that this was all done randomly. I think the way physics works and the way chemistry works has a lot to do with it. But I also don't think, like, when we say that it happened by natural causes, like, it's such a slow process that, like, none of us are saying, like, it just appeared. Like, a nervous system just appeared in the, genetic history at some point. There was probably a point where it started to form, but we wouldn't have called it this by the same thing, right? So we've got billions of years for evolution to happen, which means even the tiniest bits of steps over the course of a billion years will add up to something vastly different than what it started.
Yeah, so from my perspective, so I consider that a fallacy of vending machine. So if you have a vending machine and it has 1,000, gumballs in it, 999 are pink and one of them is blue. We're saying, well, just give it enough turns and eventually you're going to get the blue one. But the thing about probabilities is that they don't increase with time. So if the probability of getting a functional, protein that produces some new genetic function is, astronomical,
I think you're
you
comparing the wrong
could
thing.
have 4 billion years, and
we're not saying
you wouldn't
that it's
just
time
automatically
dependent.
get it with time. Is my
It's not
point.
time dependent. We never said that. So I
thought you just said that you have a lot of time. I thought
you have a
that's
lot
what
of
I
time,
heard.
but time is not the thing that increases your probability. It's the number of
Yeah, right.
iterations that you can get within a given time frame.
Sure.
So, for example, if I'm trying to win the lottery and I put in 10 tickets, I've got a better probability than just one ticket, right? So the time is what dictates the amount of sequences in the whole array, or the amount of elements in the array sequence, right? So that's when I say we've got lots of time, I'm saying we've got lots of chances for something to come into being. And if the chance is anything but zero, then I think we have to consider that, it's something that could happen, which is why that seems to be where the science is. But I wanted
that's fair. I would
Yeah.
acknowledge that for sure. I would just say it's just highly unlikely, in the same sense that
I agree.
if I walked into, an empty room and had a bag of straws and I just tossed them over the ground, like, what are the chances I'll get, like, a letter, something that looks like an A or an E or
No,
F?
I
Like, I'll
certainly agree
probably
with
get
you.
it. But what about a word or a sentence, right? Or a whole book? That's how I perceive DNA. And so to me, it's like, give it as much time, give as many tosses as you want. You'd still never get it.
But the universe is unimaginably large, and it's been around for an insane amount of time, which means even if there's only 5 planets out there that have formed life, which would be the smallest probability that we could conceive of, the reality is, given the vastness of space and time, it would happen eventually. We just happen to be that thing. So it seems preposterous to us, but from the outside, I think it's not that preposterous. But could you allow me to push back on one thing real quick? Because we're coming up on our time limit here, and I'm curious what we can do with this. So the argument from information is kind of an interesting one. And I have the same kind of complaint with that argument as I do with, like, the prime mover argument and some of the other ones, which is, let's imagine that I granted you everything. Like I just granted you that information needs something that would beget it. Why would I jump to a god as the begetter? Because if we're just saying we need something, that something is metaphysically necessary, we don't have direct evidence of it. It's just evidence by necessity. And I feel like I could put other stuff in there. I could say that, well, life is the cause from the life-granting unicorn. I could say that, well, everything was created by the god-eating penguin. The god-eating penguin is actually God. It created everything, and then it ate itself, and now is no longer in existence. It's self-destructed. Like, there's lots of methods for getting to the first life without like putting a god into that. You know what I mean?
You could also be more in line with like philosophical literature. You could be an axiologist and hold that. You could hold the exact same commitment that theists do and say that the world is like disposed towards goodness, and that's just what life is.
Are you asking me if that's what I would say?
No, like why would we choose God over one of those hypotheses?
Well, I mean, I would probably start by setting the conditions and then asserting why I think God would meet them. So if we're dealing with genetics, right, code in DNA, whatever created it would have to be capable of doing that. So in my knowledge of unicorns, horses, they aren't capable of doing something like that.
No, they are.
Whereas a mind could produce something that contains information.
Right, but what I'm saying is the life-granting unicorn does do that. I've defined it into the properties of the life-granting unicorn.
Oh, well then maybe you could say that.
Right.
Then
so
then maybe you could.
And I know this argument sounds like I'm like just having fun, like I'm goofing off, but I'm actually pretty serious about it. Like if we're saying here's what needs to exist by necessity, I can kind of just define something that satisfies the requirements and nothing more. Like I don't need to add in anything else, right? And I think that's the flaw with the God hypothesis. When you plug a God into there, now we've got lots of questions. Does he satisfy the requirement of being able to create stuff? Sure, for sure. But I think it raises a lot more problems. Like if he does create things, why did he create the DNA in such that the vast majority of it is like pseudogenetic? It's no longer functional genes. Why is it that he created the earth so that it destroys its inhabitants? I think these questions are really sensible questions the minute a god is plausible. But with the life-granting unicorn, I don't have to answer any of those questions. The life-granting unicorn only has one function, and it creates the first life, and then it fucks off, you know?
So, listen, I would be charitable and grant that. And, I think that it would even get more complicated once we say, okay, who's God? Right? Is that the God is revealed by the Bible or the God revealed by the Quran? Yeah, I can totally acknowledge that. To me, again, it's just more about probabilities. Like DNA is freaking amazing, guys. It like uses symbols. You got those 4 nucleotides, right? The AC, GT, and these function like a 4-letter alphabet. I don't know if you guys have ever done any coding of websites, but
I've done a lot of coding.
What a pain. What a pain, dude. Things have to be perfect, exact. One misplaced character can alter everything. And so I just would say it's more likely that it would arise from a mind in the same way that if I had walked into a room that I threw straws on the ground that spelled out a sentence, right? I would think someone did that, right? That wasn't done by a chemical reaction. That was done by a mind.
So, Mike, this is a really interesting topic as to whether or not it needs to be a mind that does it. Here's what I'm going to suggest. We have to end at 3:00. We got some super chats to read. We've talked you and I quite a bit. I think you've talked to Blitz for sure. You're always a good faith interlocutor. I think we enjoy talking. My audience likes you. The video that we did together had a lot of positive feedback. I'd love to come back and we can continue this argument or this topic, because it actually it's a worthwhile topic. Whether or not the thing, like if we're positing there was a thing, what is the nature of that thing? I think it's a fair question to ask.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks for having me on. I also have always enjoyed speaking with you and Blitz. I think I had spoken with Ian maybe once, but sounds good. Respect it. Thank you.
All right. Cheers, friend. Take care of yourself.
Bye.
Justin, are you still good to go for a little bit extra, a little bit past our normal time?
We could if you wanted to. I thought we were going to have
Yeah, 'cause we started late.
a post live conversation.
Damn.
Yeah,
Blitz,
I mean,
you
we
should.
could.
Okay, well that's fine. That's fine. You did pipe up in the Discord, but yeah. Now we
Yeah,
look
I
fake
mean-
as fuck, dude. Now we look evil.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my god.
Well, we've
I know. Well,
also
I think that Justin was confused.
maybe I was, but we also
I
have
grant
like
that.
25 super chats still yet to read.
Yeah, that's true. We should go over those, and then we'll see how much time we have. What time it is.
The way we do super chats, because we are pretty thorough with them. Like we've got a half hour of super chats right here.
Well, let's do it.
Holy shit.
Hey, we got a bunch, guys. Thank you for supporting the channel. But
Yeah, that's like enormous.
yeah, really appreciate it. Maddie Meister again with the additional super chat says Justin definitely says Pokemon and the Nintendo, and
Oh my god, of course he does.
you're not wrong.
That's probably true.
Listen, the facts is the facts. I'm a living fossil, y'all.
Oh boy.
It just
Bro hasn't
It is what
evolved
it
since the
is.
Devonian period.
Definitely not. If you were in my house, you would find Werther's originals laying around somewhere. Some
Would you like a butterscotch?
Oh, for real. And Atheist Gamer says, puzzle eye rod ring scale key necklace. You guys know what that means?
Oh, those are the millennium items.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Which one?
What?
And for Justin, if you had to pick one of them that the protagonist of Yu-Gi-Oh has, which do you think he would have?
I don't even know who that is. Maybe the ring.
No.
No,
I don't even know. I actually have no idea who has the ring.
me neither. I think that was probably like one of the later Yu-Gi. It wasn't
Okay.
like in the first 2 seasons, so. Which, by the way, that show holds up like surprisingly well.
There's a lot of shows that seem to never go out of style.
Oh no, it's Bakura's thing. It's not like a ring on
Oh,
the finger.
okay,
it's like
yeah,
the
I was
ring
thinking
around.
like a ring on your finger.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah, huh?
Yeah. Moving on. Dr. Fudge says, you missed my last super chat. We didn't miss it again, Dr. Fudge. You know, I don't read them all in the chronological order in which they arrive. But I'm sure we got it eventually, or we will be getting it. I think it's also funny how theists often claim theists are happier, but the ones that call in are often super upset. So true. Yeah, how many times have we heard the argument that religious people are happier, but then we get the religious people in here and they're just crash out, end to end. I think they're just proving the argument for us.
Gosh, I can't wait for the day when I have somebody yelling at me about how much happier they are as a religious person.
I'm so much happier than you.
I need this to be happy.
And thank you for the €5 chat from a name that I know I mispronounced, Ekipu.
Ekipo.
I know,
It's Ekipo.
but it sounds cute, like a nickname, Ekipo. Anyways,
Okay.
Dr. Blitz, please tell Justin, how do you pronounce my name? Please stop calling me. All right, it won't be Ekipu, it's Ekipo. Is that better? I can go with that.
Yeah, that's what I say anyway, and I
Fair
assume that's
enough.
correct.
Fair enough. I will get your name correct. And Steve, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says you won't get restricted if Ian and Blitz stop bullying Justin.
Justin has thick skin; he can take it.
Not only do I have thick skin, it's actually my love language. I enjoy a good roasting. So never feel like you can't roast me. You can just roast me. I'm okay with that. I'm the youngest
bullying of Justin will continue until morale improves.
I'm the youngest of 8 kids, so like my entire life was getting roasted by my older siblings.
Wait, 8?
8.
What the? That's crazy. I didn't know this. That's crazy. Youngest of 8 is insane.
That's pretty wild. Dr. Fudge coming in again says, no ought equals ought not is like saying 0 equals -1.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good comparison. Constantine. Thank you for the super chats. Constantine. There we go. Your Honor, nuh-uh. Yes, probably. I am shocked
Yep,
by
that's about
the
right.
amount of arguments or the amount of interlocutors that deploy the nuh-uh argument. It seems like a pretty ubiquitous one. And Nightman, good to see you, says, is TS tough on Discord? Is that someone's screen name?
Is this shit tough on Discord? Is what TS means. Yeah, like I think asking somebody for their like the semantic reduction of every term it goes pretty hard
on Discord.
On Discord, yeah.
Maybe on Discord. Nobody gives a shit if you say that in front of 2,000 people on TikTok debate though.
Oh, what's the semantic reduction on is? What's the sense of the word is that you're using there?
Yeah, I feel like the semantic pettifogging is akin to like stalling. You ever see like a wrestling or a boxing match and one opponent's definitely just stalling, trying to burn out the clock? I feel like that's
they're like clinching up. Yeah. True.
Yeah.
True, definitely. Yeah, I agree with that.
Dr. Fudge says, everything's a category error. You're a category error. I'm a category error. Nothing's a category error. He, she, me, category error. Yeah?
Yeah, that's about right.
I think that's how the conversation went, actually.
Yeah.
And Gargo King, great to see you. Thank you for the super chat. Says, best argument I've ever heard for God. Place hand in armpit. Make fart noises. Ta-da! Sorry, I just got stoned again. Praise Doug. Love you, fellas. Well, thank you. We're glad that you're having a good time. We want you to have a good time. And Karen Dave, thank you for the additional super chat. Says, Blitz quizzing our brave M about category theory is pure comedy. You might as well ask him to lick the moon. Oh, that'd be impressive. I mean, the moon is made of cheese, obviously. So it might be a worthwhile endeavor if we can figure it out. And Oppo, I wonder if this is the Oppo that was accidentally in the guest box earlier. It says, there's a clip going around of Constantine saying his heart rate monitor beeps whenever he requests to talk to Ian because he's scared. Really? Constantine said that?
No way. That's like at that point you've just won debate talk.
Yeah.
I'll have to wait for him in the box. I don't know.
I mean, based on his behavior when he was here, that leads me to think he's telling the truth there.
Yeah.
My conscience, thank you for the super chat, says, is the NRSV Catholic Gift Bible a good version to use for studying? Yeah, it actually is. I got one right here. The NRSV is one of the two like official Catholic translations right now, along with the NABRE, and it's great. Now, if you're gonna get an NRSV, I would recommend the updated edition. I would definitely recommend the updated edition. Also, if you're gonna get something for study, just go all the way and get the New Oxford Annotated Study Bible. It'll be the NRSV edition, and it'll have like really good academic study notes. So, and it's not expensive. You can get a paperback for like $30 or something. Chase, my friend, thank you for the $10 super chat. Says, if emotions have nothing to do with material, then why does caffeine make you hyper? Why does no sleep make you grumpy? I definitely feel that one. Mood and behavior would be unrelated to these scenarios if it was immaterial. I agree. Yeah. Just like we bring up the topic of Phineas Gage all the time, but also like we can just take medication, and medication will alter our mood and our feeling. And there are some people that have like brain damage, like their amygdala might be damaged or might be partially underdeveloped, and they'll not experience emotions that we would, like fear. Sometimes people with no amygdala or barely functioning one, they don't get fearful. Like you can attack them, you can put a snake in their hands, and they don't get afraid because these are all biological responses.
But Justin, that just means the radio's broken.
Oh, of course, yeah. The ghost is still in the car. It's just that the engine won't turn over. Yeah, we got that. And Karen, again, with another super chat. Thank you so much for the additional super. It says, wouldn't there's a non-physical cause force my mental states? Wait, would it? I'm trying to piece this one together.
I think they're missing a word. Wouldn't, quote, there's a non-physical causal force for my mental states.
Yeah. Is that means physical effect would over-determine the mental world? Surprising to me.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. I think that probably like definitely follows, right? Like if your brain signals are already sufficient for both your other brain signals and like all of your actions, when you like then it's just fully explained. Like if all the stuff can just be explained by assuming that it's brain signals and there's like nothing left over, yeah, it is
And,
overdetermined.
Like you could even be a dualist and say that if you can get around the interaction problem, you could just say that, look, like all of the stuff is caused by your brain. It's just there's this extra thing called the mind that when it gets certain signals, it translates that to qualia. And like you still don't need a god for that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
you could just say
need
like
the
there's
magic.
magic. There's
You
just
need the magic
you're invoking
platonic
that anyway.
receiver.
Yeah.
But the magic get away anyway, so like you may as well just invoke that. And
So-
now of course your qualia is caused by physical stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
magic
that's the other
infinity
thing.
times a day is all you have to posit.
Even if I granted, like you guys know, I don't believe in immaterial things like transcendentals and things. But even if I granted that there were, and that like our mind is an example of that, I still don't know how that gets you to God.
It doesn't really.
Yeah. Anyways, Yantu, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, love the father and son show. you two, my sons now.
Yep.
I am the proudest fucking father. Look at these two phenomenal sons that I have brought into the world. What a delightful thing to experience. I'll get pictures of Blitz and Ian behind me, frame like my family photos back there.
Okay, Daddy.
Don't give me that sass. Aaron, thank you for the super chat. Says the prophet of Doug should be proud of being fossilized. It's from his generous giving of minerals. It is possible. So true. And that's not a bad way to go, to be fair. Like, I wouldn't mind being fossilized like after I passed. Maybe someone would find me in a million years. Kane says, I'm changing my name to Coelacanth.
You tried. Coelacanth.
Coelacanth. I would never have guessed that. Well, all right then. Well, let us know, Kane. I think I got your PFP picture memorized, so I should be able to put it together. Drew, good to see you. Thank you for the Nintendo Super Chat. It says living, how do you say it? Coelacanths?
Yep.
Are a different species from the extinct ones, but they are in the same biological family. Yeah, that is true.
That's true. Yeah. Although I looked for information on how old the current species is there are two current living species of coelacanths. And I looked for information on how old those species are, and I couldn't find any information on it. And I suspect that's because as far as fossils go for coelacanths, we don't have any that are younger than 80 million years, I don't think. Or maybe 65 million years or something like this. And so the reason why they were thought to be extinct is because there were no fossils of them after, the dinosaurs, basically. And we saw no evidence that they existed today. But it just seems like they just didn't fossilize between then and now. And so it's hard to keep track of when the current living species exist. But we know that they're closely related to the ones that went extinct however many million years ago, because they look basically the same.
Yeah. Let's see. GPEGMGTM3 says evolution is the same as God in the tone of SpongeBob. Cool, except that one has evidence for it and the other doesn't. That's a fair point. So like, even if like we're comparing like evolution or abiogenesis to God, we at least have some evidence. Even if you think the evidence is weak, we have some evidence. There's no evidence for God whatsoever. Oppo, thank you for the channel super chat. Says Meta Mike has made statements previously supporting white supremacist Jim Bob and Jay Dyer. Not a good friend in my opinion. I didn't know that he was supporting white supremacists, which also
Jim
brings
Bob?
He's another philosophy or wannabe orthodox debater.
Oh, okay.
But he doesn't do his own live streams that much.
He's another guy who has the funniest arguments you've ever heard in your entire life. I was talking to like a friend once. I was with my friend Hegel fan, and we were talking to some like Jim Bob derivative, and then he gave an argument. Was like, yeah, this argument came from Jim Bob, and we will start like laughing our asses off because it was so bad. It was something about like if all there is atoms, then there are no propositions, so there are no laws of logic.
Well,
how can you build propositions from atoms?
Yeah.
Checkmate, atheist.
Genuinely.
So, like fair question though. Like, I don't know much about Jay Dyer or Jim Bob. Does anyone know if they actually are white supremacists? Like, do we know anything about this?
I mean, Jay Dyer hangs out with Andrew Wilson. Like, they're buddies.
Well, he also writes for fuck, what's the show? He writes for a neo-Nazi. There's like a neo-Nazi. Oh, Sam Hyde. That's who it is. Sam Hyde. Sam Hyde's a neo-Nazi, and he writes for the Sam Hyde show. So.
Well, that checks out. Okay. Thanks for the information, Oppo. I was not actually aware of this. And Karen, thank you for the additional $20 super chat. Big W says many have actually do the math on this. For example, abiogenesis needed a self-replicating RNA string. The shortest we know is 20 pairs. Most models suggest that very long, purely random processes would take 3 to 5 million years. And now we've got another live restriction. Your live is not eligible for recommendation and restricted in search results because your live does not comply with the 4U feed eligibility standards under our community guidelines. Reason: harassment and bullying.
Well, we need to stop harassing and bullying Justin, I guess.
No, I think it's because we were talking about white supremacists and whatnot.
No, I don't think TikTok moves that quickly.
No, I think there's Jay Dyer fanboys crashing out in the comments reporting us, is what I think.
Could be.
Could be wrong. Grain, thank you for the $10 super chat, says he's right. There's not enough time. If the Mustangs
Mutations is what he's trying to say.
There we go.
He just vomited on his keyboard first.
If the mutations are happening one after another, but there are trillions of organisms alive at the same time, each mutating independently. True, yeah, it's not a linear progression of changes because a lot of it is happening concurrently, for sure. And Chris says, best Sunday service imaginable. Well, thank you, Chris. Really appreciate that. We think it's a good time on Sunday mornings for sure. And Sand Sensibility, thank you for the $10 super chat. I'll never understand how ignorance. I think that's the only gift that has dance music to it that I know of. That's a fun one. It says, I'll never understand how ignorance of science justifies belief in God. Stone, lava, and salt. Indeed, again, the God of the gaps arguments always get me. Like, I'll never understand. I'll say, well, I don't understand how this works, therefore it must be a God. There's no connection point between those two things. You can't just put a God in there because you don't understand how it works. And Patrick Chris, thank you for the $20 super thanks. We really appreciate that. Big W. And Joshua, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, just to be 100% information in relation to genes is a metaphor. Treating it as information makes it seem like there was a start or an end goal. I agree with that statement. But I think one of the things that I struggle with in terms of the DNA information argument is like trying to come up with an actual definition of information. I feel like that's such a ambiguous term that is like what we can apply it to so many things. Yep. And Track, thank you for your donation. We appreciate that. Alan, thank you for the $5 super chat. It says, awesome job, Blitz. Chemical and physical constraints, not purely random, but not agenically designed. Yeah, I would agree.
Sweet, I did something right. Let's go.
I think the word random is overused when we're talking about the evolutionary process because it's not actually random. Genji, thank you for the $15 super chat. Says, how do we go from highly specific functions in DNA to God did it? Exactly, that's what we're saying, right? And that's why I asked Mike to come back sometime and chat with us, because that's the line that we have to connect. Because even if we granted everything, that DNA is highly functional and it does count as information, how do we get to this idea that a God must have done it? That's what I need to know. And Track with the additional super chat says, Justin, Blitz, Ian, salute, gentlemen. Mike, great job on making that clown scam Shamoon run. Wait, did Mike debate Sam Shamoon? I didn't know that.
I would believe it. Mike is like, for somebody who's like very, I don't want to say dogmatic, but for somebody who's really engaged in like Christianity and stuff, dude goes on debates against so many theists.
Well, I thought it's because he's like not like a. I thought
He's
he
not a
holds
Trinitarian.
he holds to like
Right.
a really weird brand of Christianity. When I
He
talked
does.
to him, I don't know if he still holds to this, but I think he said like God is like made of atoms or something.
Okay.
It's plausible. Yeah. He's definitely a heretic, but he gets around and he talks to a lot of people.
Right. Mike does actually read the Bible and the church history as well. So like he can have an engaging conversation on it, but you're right. Like he runs afoul with a lot of Christians because he's got some unorthodox views.
I mean, he would have been burnt to the stake with us, so he may as well join the dark side.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
may
I
as
mean,
well
you know,
just join
he's-
us.
Yeah, I mean, if I were ever to become Christian, I definitely wouldn't want to be a part of like some nonsense denomination like, I don't know, fucking Catholicism or like EO that has like a billion pieces of dogma, none of them like all of them contradictory, none of them intelligible. So I don't know, I respect it.
Yeah. He's an honest interlocutor. Like he comes up, he seriously engages in the conversation. He's willing to change his mind on things. I've had a good time talking to him. But Gretchen, thank you for the 1311. Good to see you this morning. It says I've been trying to cook up something to go live, but first I gotta hit the 1,000 follower threshold on TikTok. Would you, fine gentlemen, mind granting me an assist, please? Thanks a million for any and all. So Gretchen, one thing we do need to know then is what is your TikTok handle? Let me log into TikTok and see if we can direct some people over to your direction. Let's see if I have you on my friends list. I don't see a Gretchen just yet. Did you send me your profile? I want to say at some point you sent me your profile and I followed you, but I don't see anyone just yet following me with your name. Gretch, let us know. Oh, we got it. There we go. Thank you. It's at Boots98C. There we go. Let me plug that in. 98C and make sure I'm dropping you a follow. We're followed now. Let me open up your profile for everyone to see. It should look like this, friends. Give me 1 second to get the web browser open. There we go. It's going to be that same profile pic. There we go. So it's the same name, same profile pic as what's already on the screen. Y'all, we need to get Gretchen up over 1,000 followers so she can go live. We're excited for it. Gretchen's been in the community for a long time, supporting our streams. So let's go over to her TikTok channel and follow her up. We've got 472 people here. Let's get her over the 500 mark and get her on the way to streaming.
Like over 1,000 on YouTube, right?
Yeah, a bunch of people on YouTube.
But so if you're watching on YouTube and you have a TikTok account, it would definitely help.
Please do. Everybody in the community should be supported. We're all in this fight together. And Andrew, thank you for your donation. We appreciate that. Dr. Joe in the house this morning. Good to see you, Dr. Joe. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Says Meta Mike is pleasant and respectful, but his claim is still an argument from incredulity. I do agree. That's what it seems like, right? I've noticed believers and skeptics use random with very different moral and experiential meanings. That is the case. Yeah.
Now, there is something to be said. My interactions with Mike happened a long time ago. I haven't talked with him in a while, but he was always pleasant. My interactions with Mike were when, if I remember correctly, he was still a flat earther. I'm curious to know if he still is. Yeah,
he was a flurf.
I think he was, if I'm remembering correctly. But this was years ago. This would have been like maybe 3-ish years ago, and his religious views have changed significantly in that time. So it's possible so have his physical views. But I'd be curious to know if he actually still does partake in the flurf stuff.
I had no idea he was ever a flurf.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
I could be mistaking him for somebody else, which if I am, and Mike is still here and listening, I apologize for disparaging you. But like I'm pretty sure I remember him being a flat earther way back in the day, and he was always super pleasant about it. He was never like an asshole.
Okay.
If Dr. Blitz is misrepresenting it, I disavow.
Yeah, I apologize if I'm misrepresenting it.
We do what we can. Andrew, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, whoops, forgot to add a text. That happens sometimes. Usually some people want to send the super chat, but they don't need anything to be read. It's like just a blank donation. I assume that's what you did, but that's okay. I haven't heard a single evolution denier who understands how it works correctly, not once. Yeah, that was my experience as a young Christian. My complaint against evolution was deeply rooted in my misunderstanding of it. And once I got better educated, I was like, oh, I guess I was the idiot here, you know? But yeah, we agree with that. At least I do. Cody, thank you for the $5 super chat, says, for his straws analogy, wouldn't it be more analogous to say if each time a letter was formed, you keep it and iterate until a word sentence formed? Yes, this is such a good point. You know what? I'm shocked that I haven't heard this before. Because it's not like you're just randomly throwing down straws and hoping to find this complicated pattern. You're throwing them down, and every time you throw it down, the pattern gets more complicated because you're keeping some of the straws. For sure. This is a very good point. And Mike, old newbie, thank you for the $10 super chat, says, Metaphysics Mike seemed to be making assumption that evolution has a goal. That does seem to happen, yeah. He made a remark at the beginning of the conversation that there was a mechanism searching for the beneficial mutation. Yeah, it is interesting because there's a lot of people who do... They look at evolution like you have to get from point A to point B, and then you're like, well, how can we do that? But evolution is not trying to get to a point. It's just a process that is ongoing with no actual destination. And Tom, thank you for the 50 Czech dollars. Says regarding
Czech crowns.
Oh, the crowns. Shit, you guys got crowns? Okay.
Yeah, this is about like 250.
Okay. Regarding book argument, check Library of Babel. Been there. It's random characters, contains technically every conversation, every future, past, and current book. So I've talked to quite a few people, and I've used the website before. I'm still a little bit confused about what it's doing. It seems like it's generating these texts, because otherwise it couldn't do the alternative. It certainly can't store every iteration of text on the planet. We'd never have enough space for that. So I think they're kind of like, they're doing a little bit of a bait and switch. I think they're telling you that this is like every possible iteration of text when it's just them generating it in real time.
So what they're doing, as far as I know, is that every time you search for a random text or search for a text search for like a string in a text, it will generate them and then it will store those forever.
Okay, so every time it searches, it does store it.
And yeah, and the mechanism that they use is sufficiently compact, like they use like a hashing or something like this, that realistically they will never run, it will never be the case that an old search gets overridden by a new one because they've ran out of memory.
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Genji, thank you for the additional $12 super chat. Says Mike was making assertions he did not back up. I feel like you guys didn't hold his feet to the fire to show his work. So Genji, we were nice with Mike, and the reason why is because we've talked to him before. We like him, and typically, at least you've seen it with my live stream, when someone comes in and they're likable and they're super good faith, I don't like immediately try to cook them and hold their feet to the fire as much as I would somebody else. Because it's a little bit of back and forth. When you meet people that you enjoy talking to, you want to not burn as many bridges as you might normally. You know what I mean? BJ, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says Blitz, can energy be created or destroyed, and how does this relate to the quantum eternity theorem? Also, big fan. Keep doing what y'all do.
Yeah. So it's hard. So there is a sense in which you can perhaps talk about the total energy of the universe. And that might be very, very different from the way that you and I think of energy. The way that you and I think of energy is like this kind of like, like what a battery has or whatever. That thing, seemingly in an expanding universe, that thing can change. Like the amount of that, the amount of energy that there is. In which case, yeah, in principle, you could have energy created, energy destroyed, or whatever. Depending on how the universe evolves over time. However, if there are, the question is does the universe have a well-defined non-zero Hamiltonian? If that's the case, and that Hamiltonian is in some sense a measure of energy, and that thing would be well-defined and presumably time-independent. If that's the case, actually, it's not even the case that it needs to be time-independent. But if there is a well-defined Hamiltonian for our universe, meaning that there's a well-defined notion of global energy, then and it's not zero, then I guess it would have to be non-zero everywhere. Then it would follow that the quantum eternity theorem still holds, even if you can make or destroy energy or whatever. The question is whether you can define a global energy. That's a question that we don't know the answer to. And if you can, whether that global energy is identically zero everywhere. If neither of those things, if you can define a global energy, but it's identically zero everywhere, then the quantum eternity theorem doesn't necessarily hold. Or rather, it holds, just the hypothesis isn't satisfied. So they do play, there is a little bit of a, there's some mixing up that happens, but they don't contradict each other.
Sure. And JM, thank you for the $2 super thanks, Big W. And Penelope, thank you for the $20 super chat. Says, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for all you do. Rock hard for Doug. Well, thank you, Penelope. And we appreciate you supporting the streams. You know, you've been supporting our streams for quite some time, and you're a very familiar face in the community. We really do appreciate all your kindness and support for what we're doing here in the community, because we couldn't do it without the support from our audiences. And GP, thank you for the $20 super chat. It says, Earth is now different. Oxygen levels 4 billion years ago were about zero. The meta shifts. Life evolves around it, and life changes the environment, as in cyanobacteria, increasing oxygen on the Earth and turning the sky blue. I mean, this is the case, yeah. Like, everything that's happening on our planet now, while it may be roughly connected to things that were happening a long time ago, is not identically the same, for sure. And Jay says, the amount of dishonest bad interlocutors that run from U3 could form a new marathon category. Nuh-uh runners. Callers don't read their own books. For sure. For sure. And Andrew with another super chat, thank you so much, says, the idea that natural creation is unlikely itself is itself a claim to be proven. It might be the case that creation and evolution is inevitable. This is a fair point, and we do hear it a lot, that like, well, it's incredibly unlikely, therefore it's not the most plausible explanation. But I would love to hear their calculation for how they came to the likelihood that it could or couldn't happen. Joshua with the additional super chat says, if you have too many atoms, they crowd out Eves?
The Eves?
What's that?
It's like aren't those the things
Adam
that, like,
and Eve.
hang over? Aren't Eves in like the thing in a church where like where they hang out overlooking the church? It's like
no,
the
it's,
seats.
It's a joke.
What is an Eve?
It's a joke.
Well, no, I know it's a joke, but it's a pun on like an Eve as like as you can, if you have too many of something, then you'll crowd out the eaves of like the church or something. But also, yeah, pretty sure it's a
pun. Let's see. Eves is a traditional French masculine given name derived from the Old Germanic ewe, meaning yew tree or archer's bow. I wonder if he meant to spell it that way. I don't really know.
Okay.
Nevertheless, it was a fine joke. It was a fine joke, my friend. And Benjamin, or B Jammin, thank you for the super chat. Says, also, any good books for evolution, something simple and to the point for people who have a hard time reading dense books.
I have some controversial recommendations. My understanding is that Dawkins' book on it is pretty good.
The Selfish Gene?
No. Like the Greatest Show on Earth, I think is what it's called.
He's actually, I mean, he's going to get flack for being kind of a shitty human, but like The Selfish Gene is also quite good.
Isn't he in the Epstein files?
Definitely.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. I think Daniel Denon is too. Who's like a philosopher of mind guy.
And so was Lawrence Krauss.
Lawrence? Yeah, that is completely unsurprising to me.
Yeah. But I think somebody could be like, well, I don't even know if I'd say like he's like a pedophile. Like obviously being in the Epstein files doesn't mean that, but you can.
Jon Stewart was in the Epstein files.
Who?
He was referred to Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart, comedian. He was in the Epstein files because they referred to him and they're like, "Hey, we could host a show, and the host could be someone like Jon Stewart."
Yeah.
So that put him in the Epstein files.
Sure.
But I imagine that Dawkins was,
But yeah, regardless,
more
like I don't know. Like unfortunately, despite the fact that he's like a horrendous piece of shit, he's like a pretty accomplished like evolutionary biologist guy.
Yeah. Like he invented the word meme for what it's worth.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Impressive. Stock, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Is there anything morally objectionable in the New Testament on similar scale to the genocides in the Old Testament? Yeah, for sure. Jesus says in a parable in Luke 19 that when he comes back, he wants all the people who didn't want him to be king to be brought before him and slaughtered in their very presence. If you don't follow him and believe in this sky carcass, he will light you on fire for literally all of eternity, even if you've only committed one sin in your entire life. He did double down on the laws of Moses in Matthew 5:17-19 and elsewhere. So as far as I can tell, and if Jesus is God, well, then it doesn't matter if that stuff was in the Old Testament. That means Jesus commanded it. So I don't think you're ever going to be able to disconnect Jesus from the horrors of the Old Testament, especially if you're a Trinitarian. But that's what I would say. And Sherry says, Justin, please make a GIF of your dance moves. You do not. That's not something anyone needs. My dance moves are maybe even worse than my singing, which is something nobody should ever hear, ever. Gargo, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Says you guys should star in a revamped of Superbad. Maybe.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's a good movie. What character would we be?
Whoa.
Thank you, Neuro.
Let's
to
go.
be fair, the music is kind of catchy. Who's McLuffin? We got questions.
It's not a character in Superbad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I've seen the movie.
Don't worry.
Either.
Oh shit! I'm the only one who's seen it. This is crazy.
Yeah. Okay, boomer. Okay, boomer.
How am I the only one who knows this reference? Because it's
an old
ancient.
man movie. Yeah.
That's fine. Buket says Blitz could lean down and give Ian a little moi.
I could. I
Maybe.
won't, but I could.
Yeah. Yeah. We can make things happen. And Trent, thank you for the $10 super chat. Says, Justin, prophet of Doug, may we ask you to consult the almighty Doug to ascertain the Super Bowl winner? Rock hard for Doug. Fuck ice. I got to be honest. Doug has never given me a Super Bowl prediction, so I'm not sure that he's going to start this year.
You have a 50-50 shot. Just guess. It'll be amazing if you get it right.
I'll give a Super Bowl prediction. The Morton Salt Girl predicts not the Patriots.
Oh, okay.
Who's the other team?
Seattle, right? Is it Seattle?
Yeah, the Seahawks.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just to be clear, the lava lamp predicts the Seahawks.
You know what? I don't know who's going to win, but I'd prefer the Seahawks to win if I was going to pick one, for sure.
Yeah. Anything but the Rats, am I right?
The Rats?
The Rats.
I don't know that one either. I don't know this reference.
Like the Patriots?
The Pats?
The Rats.
Never heard them called the Rats. Is that a new thing?
Nope. I heard that from like Bill Burr. Somebody said that to Bill Burr.
Wait a minute. Did the Morton Salt Girl predict that the Seahawks would win?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The lava lamp predicted that the Pats would win.
Okay. Jay Hizzle says, my first ever super chat, where does Morton Salt Girl fit in the pantheon of Doug, Sharon, and the lava lamp? Great question, and we're glad we're your first.
Yeah, I mean, Morton Salt Girl is the pantheon, but of course is distinct from Doug, Sharon, and the lava lamp. 4 persons, 1 pantheon.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like they are. We're not afraid of a little modalism here.
Yeah,
Indeed.
True. It's the same mode.
Yes, like
it's the same God, different modes.
modalism is not a heresy in our religion.
Yeah, I mean, like if you liquefy the Molten Salt Girl, she becomes lava.
True. Facts.
If you then solidify her, but not recrystallize her, then she becomes stone.
Yeah. To be fair, you could fix the Trinity by doing either modalism or partialism. I think partialism is better.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't matter. The church, you're a heretic. So.
Yep.
Anthony says, interesting evolution factoid. Sharks are older than trees. What?
Yeah, sharks. The shark
Oh,
family existed before trees did.
yeah, I
I guess
believe
that
that.
makes sense. Sharks have a pretty simple design.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also trees are not like one thing, which is weird.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because in order for trees to come about, you would need not just plants, but plants that are like actively producing bark.
Well, no, what I mean is that like a tree is not like a specific group of organisms. It's just like a vague notion of like a tall plant that has bark. But that's not like one, it's not like one family of plant, right? Like, I guess like palm trees are are like grasses technically, but we call them trees. So they're like barely related to like oak trees at all. I
Sure.
don't know. It's confusing.
Apparently, according to Hank Green, apparently fish aren't real.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh.
Fish are not real.
Damn. Okay, that's good to know.
There are
Tom,
none.
thank you for the additional super. It says Czech are also the most atheists in the world. Is that true, Dr. Blitz? High rate of atheism.
If not the most, then one of the most.
Okay.
I actually asked my not my PhD supervisor, my mentor in the Czech Republic, why this is the case. He's a Czech guy, and he basically said that like since the 1500s or maybe even earlier, they had their own version of the Protestant Reformation, and then they had another, and then they had another like a dozen times, and so they basically just had like a dozen civil wars of fracturing Protestantism, and so he thinks that his view is probably just disillusion with the whole thing. Because, you know, they just kept being civil wars fought about which kind of Christian is right.
Right.
And then they had like 50 years of communism, and that probably stamped out the last of it.
Oh, that'll do it. Jay Toolis, thank you for the $2 super chat. Says your Inner Fish by Shubin Evolution book. Yeah, actually, I did get that book. I haven't read it yet. I thought it was good. I think a super, super basic introduction to the topic for people who know literally nothing about biology, so like myself, I really liked the "Why Is Evolution True" book. I think that's a good thing to get the wheels turning. I heard your Inner Fish is really good. The Dawkins books I heard was really good. I haven't read yet. And then I went on for suggestion. I just went out and I bought a textbook, like a biology or a evolutionary biology 101 textbook, like you would get in like a freshman biology class for college. And that's been really good too. The textbooks are great because they've got diagrams and references and everything. So there's a lot of ways to get in the cat, you know. And last super chat from Rod. Thank you for the 100 MX. Says, Justin, my man, you are the youngest of 8 with your twin brother included. That is the case. And Ian, can you please use your best Maximilian Pegasus voice and call your co-host Justin Boy? Love you guys.
Justin Boy.
The reference I'm unaware of.
It needs to be zestier.
Justin Boy.
Something about it's not right.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's right. You can work on your Justin Boy zest some other time. I think that's the end of our super chats. Friends, thank you so much for being here and liking and supporting and sharing the stream. And are either you two live later today?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'll be live tonight at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time on the Atheist Experience. So y'all tune in to AXP, and I'm going to be on with Godless Engineer. So we should have some fun. But we'll see you again, same place, same time next week, friends, on Sunday.
Sounds about right.
Cheers.
About right.